Hello everybody, welcome back to the Level 1 News. Today is November 2nd, and today we're doing a classic breakdown, government and social.
How is it November already?
I know.
Time compression.
The Minecraft server should be online. There should be a link to it in the forum.
Oh, well that means that we absolutely have to know.
I don't know what theme, I've got like 3 ideas, but I don't want to do something so broad that's like, it's not good, but I don't want to do something so specific that it doesn't make people creative.
Krista, if we unleash those Minecraft players with no direction, we don't know what could happen.
That's what we did last year, and it was really cool.
No, we gave them some rules.
Well, we're going to have rules again this year, but like we didn't have a theme, a build theme.
I don't care about a theme, actually. What I want a way to keep them focused, to not let the energy just spiral out into weird public works projects. Like we should, because we weren't able to judge any of those.
We started with I don't know what happened from like a creative user standpoint, but from a technical standpoint, we started with a reasonably sized Linode. And then we went to one of the largest Linodes that Linode has, and it still wasn't enough because of the pent up, unrepentant energy of the unwashed masses.
Well, that was the farms.
Yeah, so the mob farms, yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, there was a certain area around Spawn where someone had like a giant underground mass of like chickens and cows and stuff, and like there were hundreds of them down in this basement. And when you got near that build, your frame rate would start to stutter a little bit.
And they're going to have that going like day 5 this time around.
And we don't even know what we're giving away. Although Linode is on board to give away a bunch of hosting and swag and stuff like that. And that's just the game portion of Devember. There's also a development portion of Devember.
Also, I've got a couple of Twitter mentions. I guess they're not DMs. People ask me about Devember. Don't contact me on Twitter. I will not respond to you on Twitter. I don't use Twitter as a communication tool. Twitter is for the cats, and
there's at least 8 threads on the forum.
Yeah,
a lot of people are starting a little early, and that's totally fine.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's a pro strat.
So if you wanna go on and make your thread and start planning stuff now, that's fine.
It's also true that a lot of people are like, I need a very cookie cutter block stacking perfectly cubical set of instructions for what you want me to do for Devember. And it's like, no, that's not.
Failed.
Yeah, that's part of the magic here is that it's not. There's an affiliate link below that you can use to get $100 of free credits to use to build something for Linode. That's not a requirement, but you can use that. And I think it's pretty clear what the options are for Devember. It's basically wide open, and we're also arbitrary and capricious.
When you're going to reach a point in your life when every project you work on is dictated by your customers, right. You're going to hate it. Enjoy that for now.
Yes, we're the customers.
Except we're not giving you any. We're the worst kind of customer. Krista knows this. I'll know it when I see it.
Bring me a rock. Wrong rock. Bring me another rock. Wrong rock.
Could you show me some rocks that you like? No.
I'm doing like a minor logo rework for a client because their name changed. And when I was like writing out the terms, I was like, this quote includes like the actual logo redo and 1 to 2 rounds of minor revisions. And then I had like a little asterisk explaining what minor means. It's like, that doesn't mean we're redoing it every time. Because that is obnoxious and it also wastes a lot of time and money.
Devember's for you. You can have a lot of fun. If you're not sure, ask questions in the forum. But that's part of the fun.
That's part of learning to deal with those people.
It's part of learning to live life.
A very important lesson in this business, believe me, because you will work with those people.
Very important lesson in life in general, because do you think the people at the DMV are going to do that for you? No.
Well, let's talk about some government news, and everybody's favorite FCC board member, not anymore. She's graduated, is Jessica Rosenworcel, and she's got a big smile on her face.
Biden appoints Jessica Rosenworcel to lead the FCC. Now, she was the interim chief. Now she's the official chief. She's the chief.
Also, that puts her out of her seat and into Ajit Pai's seat. Her seat was filled by another Democrat. If her confirmation can happen before the next calendar year, that will create the 3-2 Democrat imbalance in the FCC, where it has been 3-2 Republican during the Trump administration.
And somehow it still won't be better.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe that means something, but probably not.
She's been doing a lot. I would give her, she's got some of the problems the rest of them do, but I would give her like a 60-40. I think she's a little bit better than she is bad.
It is nice that she understands some of the technical issues, and like when the telecom companies tell her that up is down and black is white, they're apparently not stuffing enough cash into her pockets, and she's like, no, that's not how this works.
I mean, she's light years ahead of a Jeep Pie.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't, if you believe that a Jeep Pie was better than Jessica Rosenworcel, then you are just purely making all of your decisions on a party line, because there is no subjective argument to be made there. None. Or maybe you're like a Verizon CEO. Maybe then you could argue that.
Sometimes I think that if a Jeep Pie really believed the things that he was telling other people, that there's no hope for humanity.
I was at a thrift store recently and I saw a giant Reese's mug. I started to buy it for the set, and then I was like, is that kind of dated? I mean, he's gone now. But.
Well, I mean, that would be fun to just, we're panning through like the scary storage closet, and it's like, wait, is that a Jeep Pie's mug? What did you guys
Reese's
do?
mug.
That would be, we could do a funny skit where it's like, if you drink from the mug, you just become an evil, soulless corporate robot. And then the other people have to try to find a way to dispel that.
I'll have to go back to the thrift store and see if it's still there.
I'm going to need that for an upcoming review video that launches next week or later this week.
So we've got also some court decisions that should interest you, because this is a big one, and we've seen this one play out over and over and over. But here's a sort of what can happen after the fact or cannot. Now, this is not totally decided. We have another layer of appeal, at least one to go, but it sounds good for now.
The police demand that you reveal your passcode, and you're not required to reveal your passcode because you're allowed not to incriminate yourself, or you have the constitutional right. Not sure allowed. That's a constitutional right. And so the prosecutor told the jury that he refused to provide the passcode for his phone. That has a habit of prejudicing the jury against the individual, and you cannot say that. That's really well-established case law. The prosecutor definitely should know that, and so this should be grounds for being ejected as a prosecutor, because he would know better.
Well, that's not what's happening. They're just making sure you can't do it. The defense, objected to that, obviously, and it went to an appeals court. So they've won for now.
For now. But still, this is the kind of erosion of individuals' rights that and it really sucks that it's these kind of cases, because this case is really
he's terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty
terrible
grisly.
Person. Yeah.
But
that's why they do that, though.
It's like, hey, they refuse to remember something that we're sure that they remember. That means they're guilty, and it's like, that's not how that's supposed to work.
But when it's that kind of situation, I think it points out the real problem there, which is the cops on the other end of that are not really monsters. They just think they know what's best.
Yeah.
And they're not that smart.
Yeah.
They can't see the big view. They're like, no, we're getting this monster off the street. That's the most important thing. But it's not. But cops believe that. So that's the world we live in. I didn't silence my phone.
Oh. Unprofessional.
And the regulators. The regulators desperately want to regulate everything. When there's something they can't regulate, makes them angry.
U.S. regulators exploring how banks could hold crypto assets. So if you read between the lines here, what they're saying is we can't trust the citizenry to have crypto because drug dealers could have unseizable assets. We need to make people have their crypto at a bank because we can seize that. What?
Her quote, I'm paraphrasing because the paywall, but her quote really was like, if we don't regulate this now, we might never get a chance to control it.
Yeah.
And everybody who understands what Bitcoin is about is like, yeah, that's why we made this. It's because of you.
Don't you understand?
They don't. Or they do.
And that
that's why they're
enrages them,
doing
yeah.
this.
They say things like that, and then it's validation. It's like, that's why these things were done by those people, is because of this. And they don't realize.
And I feel like this is a subgenre of tech news that kind of goes underreported.
Yeah.
And that's when small government, and sometimes large government, bullies their employees in a way that should be illegal, but because of our system, it's not technically illegal. But if anybody just took a minute to read it, they'd be like, what? That's crazy.
There's no way that that's true, and yet.
And when you get to the end of these stories, you're like, wow, I can't wait to see how this guy fixed this problem. And you find out,
it wasn't.
It wasn't fixed.
These people just get screwed and nothing changes.
Well, there is a technology angle to this, but the headline is, I refuse to lie under oath for the state of Arizona, and the courts are not on my side. This is true. So this has to do with convictions that stem from analysis of blood alcohol level and the technology involved in analyzing that. So they actually take a bunch of samples from you, and the samples don't necessarily all result the same result. So like if I take, if Ryan has a beer and we take 10 samples from him and one of them shows that he's above the blood alcohol level for, the legal limit or whatever, but the other 9 don't, they'll only submit the one into evidence. And so under cross-examination in the court case, this scientist operator person was like, yeah, we take like 10 samples and the prosecutor only provides the one, even though the other 9 might show that it's below the limit. I think that the defense should have access to all of the evidence that we collected, not just what we're going to use in trial. And that made his boss yell at him and discipline him, and ultimately led to his dismissal. And he also got fined.
That's they don't explicitly say it, but I imagine that lost him the case.
Yeah,
because it was a yes or no question. It was like, do you think these were properly handled, and were we given all the information we needed? He had to answer no, because he believed it was no, and he laid out the reasons why. Now he sued, obviously, as you would, and what he learned was qualified immunity, which is you can't go after the prosecutor or the cops because this is their job, trumps the truth.
Yeah, because he was an employee of the state. He doesn't have a First Amendment right. I feel like this should be appealed to the Supreme Court, because that's literally not how how any of this is supposed to work. Like, if citizenry understood that this is the machinery that's been set up to punish them, there would be rioting in the streets.
I doubt it.
If they understood what was at stake.
Even then, I doubt it.
That's disappointing.
Yeah. We'll write about other things, but not that.
We're doomed as a species.
We are, but maybe the El Salvadorans will have an easier time of it than the rest of us. Why? Because they are embracing the future.
Bitcoin back over 60K as El Salvador buys 420 Bitcoin.
Blaze it.
Is this?
It's too bad it's not over 69K.
Is that a picture of hummus?
Yeah, I think it's hummus.
Yeah, because those are chickpeas. I don't know what that has to do.
They'll always be garbanzo beans to me, Chiquista.
Why do they have two different names? I've never been able to figure that out.
I have no idea.
Engagement challenge, if you know. I'll probably forget to look it up later.
So what is that, like 25 million? Something like that. And, yep.
That seems like not a lot for a country, but it definitely moved the price of Bitcoin.
1,100. Well, it's because there's so little Bitcoin moving at any given time.
That should tell you how much power the Winklevoss twins have to move the value of Bitcoin. It's pretty crazy.
And the U.S. government has made a terrible error. They have fumbled some patents, and it's going to cost them, and by them I mean us, a lot of money.
The U.S. government owes over $100 million for the TSA's patent infringement. What patent did they infringe? Was it some sort of high technology, whatever? No, it's one of the more rare method patents. It was a method for sorting and organizing and routing trays that you put your shoes in so they can be x-rayed to make sure that all the lanes have equal opportunity for trays to keep everything moving. Some guy came up with a way of doing it really efficiently and that they weren't doing, patented it, showed them, and they were like, this is really good. We're going to use this technique. We don't believe that that's patentable. And it turns out that it was.
10 years. That's why the number's so big, because they've just been over and over every day for 10 years racking up those.
How thrilled are you for that guy who holds that patent?
I really think that he would have gotten way less money if he hadn't proposed, like, as part of the thing, he said, hey, I'm not even going to charge you money. I want advertising space on TSA gear in all of the airports. So it's like, I'm not even going to charge you money, but I want to do this advertising thing. So when it came time for this, to look at how much money he was owed, it was like, oh, the potential for advertising in airports is huge, and it's grown. I think that he got as much money as he possibly could out of that because of the advertising thing versus trying to license it to them for, a few $1 million back then.
Kind of the mirror of the other story, in which this guy is an absolute monster, but he's on the right side of the law, and you have to agree with him. But you don't have to agree with Apple, because they are terrible. And once in a while, the governments pay attention to that.
The information reports that Apple is very likely to face a DOJ antitrust suit soon. Somebody's put together the Lego pieces finally. It's like, wait a minute. Apple is interfering with commerce between individual publishers, and they lost their lawsuit against Epic, or at least one part of it. They won actually basically everything except for the one point about the interfering with commerce part. And then now we also have news about how Apple is doing stuff with advertising and online stuff, and Facebook is down, and Apple's advertising product is way up after making changes. So they say they're championing privacy, but it actually bolstered their own advertising product. Yeah, the DOJ is probably going to come after them hardcore.
And that whole thing about, I just lost my train of thought completely.
Embarrassing.
Oh, the emails.
Oh.
The discovery emails.
Yeah.
Probably were the nail in the coffin, and the DOJ was like, okay, yeah, we can do this for sure.
That's one really nice thing. All the high technology companies that have people like us working in them that are just, a little bit on the spectrum, it's like we get an email. It's like, so what you want me to do is this horribly illegal thing that is this. This is what you're telling me to do.
Let me get this in writing
so
I can have a copy of this for later.
Yeah, and so we all do that. And then later it's like, why did you document this? And it's like, I didn't want you to throw me under the bus as you have for other minor things, let alone something this,
Because I've been burned before, and now I have to be this way. And I don't like to be this way, but this is how I am now.
That's how we all are.
And the question of AI, I think when it comes to the less AI and more weapons, but AI is also included here. A lot of people got a wake-up call last week, and they were like, oh, wait a minute. China's way ahead of us and everything? Hang on. What? Has no one been talking about this? I was like, well, yeah, if you'd picked up or if you read a newspaper or website in the last 5 years, 10 years.
Just looked at Twitter trending even. Come on.
Or, Donald Trump, he banged that drum a lot. I know we're not allowed to do anything that he said was to do anymore. But it looks like NATO has finally gotten the memo.
NATO launches an AI strategy and $1 billion as a fund to in this defense against the AI, whatever. I really butchered that. I'm sorry.
That's, kind of a nebulous thing here. They don't have any specific ideas, but it's just basically China's probably better at us than AI right now. That could be devastating. Let's get better.
I read this article, and I really thought that, you remember the AI that would analyze how you were walking across the crosswalk, and then it could, figure out if a policeman had to go tell you that's like, hey, you didn't stay inside the crosswalk. I got the feeling that kind of an AI would blow their mind, and that's the kind of thing that they're looking to fund, and that was what was happening 15 years ago.
Well, that's funny is you're probably right. I don't know if this is where you're going with that, but you're probably right that they will cherry pick the worst of what China has done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Won't that be a fun little reversal of fortunes if we're stealing Chinese technology to spy on our citizens?
Fun isn't really the adjective I would use, but
Have you guys seen this Chinese gate walking analysis software? It's incredible.
everyone's gonna have to walk like
We found
the characters
DB
from
Cooper.
Dune over the sand, so to attract the sandworms.
The anti-crab walking module
Yeah.
it was developed by the Germans or something, and it's like we combine it together.
We've detected crab walking. Send a team.
Can you imagine the prosecutor trying to make that evidence, and it was like he was deliberately crab walking to hide his identity.
And he had a sticker on his mask, so I couldn't identify his face.
They got a guy wearing leg braces, and he's just like, what? So one of those companies that has been accused, ever so many times, of helping China with this stealing and becoming the world power is Huawei, and we banned Huawei. But
Huawei, SMIC, and other suppliers have received billions worth of licenses for U.S. goods. Turns out you can buy stuff online. Some U.S. companies have been caught actually selling real goods. Samsung is among them, but in terms of licenses, that hasn't slowed down at all. And the State Department is not happy.
although they did say, they had a couple of different quotes. It was like, well, licenses are not the same as real products, and maybe not all this stuff is physically shipping, but some of it for sure was physically shipping.
Yeah.
So,
Huawei's a lot of money.
and if you are blind, technology has come a long way to helping you out. You can enjoy a lot of things that blind people 50 years ago couldn't even dream about. But very often, you will run into problems with copyright. We have this weird rule about ebooks. The written ebook and the audio ebook, because of audible.com basically, are not the same thing. There's a copyright discrepancy there, even if you're just using an e-reader.
Blind people won the right to break ebook DRM. In 3 years, they're going to have to do it again. So this is something that comes up every few years because of the DMCA. See, the DMCA doesn't just make anti-circumvention technologies illegal. They say if for some reason there's a workaround that's needed, we have to reevaluate whether that workaround is actually needed every 3 years. It's really insidious because it wears you down.
So, unfortunately, for now, if you are someone who has trouble reading, you have 3 years. Hoard as many ebooks as you can and get the audio versions.
I think that if you have the audiobook version where like Stephen Fry is, lovingly reading you whatever, and that's very enjoyable, okay, I see that being its own copyright. But if you have an ebook and Microsoft Sam is reading it to you, it takes a lot to stay awake to Microsoft Sam reading you that much text. It's that shouldn't count the same.
How about if you build a system that automates taking a DRM ebook, going through whatever official process you have to go through to get it on this list or approved or whatever, and then actually do the text-to-speech also automated and put that on the cloud somewhere? That would be an all-star Devember project. You're probably taking home #1 prize with that if you can do that.
And also the feds are coming for you.
Well, you got 3 years.
But think how happy we would be if we saw that project.
Oh, yeah.
Forget your freedom.
That's a huge project. And point of sale technology. So we know that we don't want the Chinese in our networks, right? That's incredibly dangerous.
Huawei, Hikvision, where the feds are literally offering money if you accidentally bought that equipment to replace it.
But there seems to be a blind spot with something that you could argue is maybe more critical because all of our money runs through it.
The FBI raids Chinese point-of-sale giant Pax Technology. That happened today in Florida. This is really incredible. You think that they, deployed Hikvision cameras that were just backdoored to heck and back, and those are everywhere because they're cheap. They were artificially cheaper. Like you could sell those at a slight loss because, hey, you want to get them everywhere. And now you've got control of all these surveillance networks. No one has really caught you, and you've enjoyed it for years. The Machiavellian plan in the beginning was, we'll start by backdooring chips that everybody uses, and then we'll deploy the camera system, and then by the time we're in the point of sale, it's too late. When really, everybody in America is so lazy and dumb, they could have just gone for the point of sale system from the beginning.
So how do we know this? Well, it turns out that some people who were using this point of sale system started seeing some weird network traffic going out. And when they started looking at that, you had rootkits, droppers, command and control, all running on these point of sale systems.
It's a great way to steal credit cards.
And this has been a slow burn.
Yeah.
We've been using these point of sale systems for a decade?
Yeah.
Because of the woke media and everything, I can't relate to anything that I see nowadays. I listen to a lot of old stuff on YouTube that I didn't hit the first time around that I've become a fan of. I was listening to something from 2012, and it was a guy from the CIA, and he was like, yeah, the Chinese are playing the long game. They will put somebody in our school system right now to activate them in 10 years. You wait and see. And I was like,
here we are.
Goodness gracious.
Over in the UK, they are doing everything they can to get rid of ARM, some of them. And the rest of them are like, no, we need this. What are you doing?
Setback for Nvidia's $54 billion ARM acquisition as EU regulators have opened a probe. What is that probe? It's really they're opening their wallets and they're saying, how are you going to offset this for the economy?
Look how empty this is. Their big argument has to do with they're afraid, or so they claim, and based on NVIDIA's past, they have an argument here. They're afraid that NVIDIA is going to get control of it and be like, oh yeah, everybody who's licensing it, not anymore.
Yeah.
This is ours now. A lot of people license ARM.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Including Intel and AMD and literally everybody.
A little further to the east there, we've got France. And France is trying to stop their economy from becoming like our economy. And by that I mean Amazon economy. They're trying to think of ways. I'm not sure if this is going to work.
No. France moves to shield its book industry from Amazon. How are they planning to do that? Minimum shipping fees. They think that Amazon Prime is why Amazon is going to take over the universe. So if they eliminate Amazon Prime legally, surely to goodness that'll save the mom and pop book publishers.
But it might help a little bit, but I don't know that it would help enough to save the little shops.
They already have a rule that you cannot discount a book during a certain time window of when it's released. So in France, you have to pay full price for new release books by law. I can see how that would disadvantage Amazon. China has announced, now there are 2 non-peer-reviewed papers.
I look for corroborating stuff for this, can't find it.
Yeah, so no one's sure how real this is. But it's big if true.
China's new quantum computer has 1 million times the power of Google's. And it goes on to talk about quantum error correction, and there's a lot of really interesting stuff in this article. Let me just go ahead and fast forward. We've already seen this pattern play out. Remember the lunar mission from China? And it's like, we're going to land this thing on the moon and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, first it was the science mission. And then the next week was, wait a minute, that rocket that circled the Earth twice, delivering a Buick-sized rover to Mars, could have also dropped a nuclear weapon just as easily. Quantum computer. Oh my gosh, is RSA encryption ended? That's going to be the article next week.
Luckily, it's very error-prone and not working at all right
But
now.
it's got a lot of error correction.
Or maybe that's what they're telling us.
Yeah, who knows?
Our Google's version is it's just a distant memory. Was it like so many sextillion times faster? It's crazy. I think that might be a regular computer, but still, it's very impressive.
Listen, if it's producing a 128-bit key and it only got 40 of those 128 bits correct, that vastly reduces the key space that has to be searched.
Yeah, that's kind of the end of security.
Yeah. Well, for RSA, we have to use quantum hardened encryption algorithms, which we do have. We just need to not use the ones that are weak to. Now, are we going to, in 5 or 10 years, is this going to be another dual elliptic curve where the feds had a really nice quantum computer all along, and that's why they really liked the RSA algorithms, and that's why we have not adopted AES? Is that what's going on here?
And they've been using their quantum computers to
Yeah.
break our encryption freedoms?
Yeah.
I would totally believe that, yeah. But I think the problem that you're going to have there is that the states wouldn't sit on that. That would be a hell of the collusion there would be crazy. Not saying it's impossible.
I'll have to have at least 8 or 9 hours of, sad walking and reflecting if it comes out that has been the conspiracy for the last 10 years. And it's like, we kept that secret for over a decade?
Do you have like a timer on your watch while you take your sad walk? Like,
It's the meme of like the vaguely Mexican looking guy that's in the empty swimming pool.
oh yeah, and he's like got his arms behind his back and he looks sad.
Yeah, it's like that.
I think that you would not have time for that. I think you'd be busy. I think we all would.
Replacing algorithms.
Just putting out the fires, the security fires that would bring up.
Yeah, it seems like Mexico. It seems like Russia or China couldn't resist using it to just backdoor one more thing, steal one more set of credit cards, something.
Well, India, if you want some idea of why we think that it could be possible that the powers that be are so evil and so controlling that they would let that happen, they would stop the forward momentum of human technology in order to control, we need to only look at India.
Indian Supreme Court orders inquiry into states' use of Pegasus spyware. Turns out that the Modi government may have been using the Saudi Arabian iPhone spyware that's a zero-click install that probably got that a journalist guy killed, the one that the Crown Prince, that kind of thing.
Shaggy.
Yeah. It turns out that that spyware may have been used on some dissidents. They weren't terrorists. They weren't planning on blowing anything up. They weren't planning to murder a bunch of people. They were just trying to report on stuff going on in India.
But you say maybe. I don't think it's a maybe at this point. This was the money was in the budget. Like the line item was in the budget. We know that they bought it. We don't know that they used it. But what are the odds that they didn't use it?
Very low.
Yeah. So, and we have from the other side these journalists and freedom fighters and stuff who have come forward and be like, look at my phone. Study my phone. And they're like, yep, that's Pegasus. Could have been the Russians.
Probably not, though.
And LinkedIn, we have seen lately that LinkedIn is trying to find its identity. I think it's sort of falling out of favor. Its relevance is going away, so it has to try to think of a new way to do it.
LinkedIn rolls out its freelance services market globally after picking up 2 million users in a smaller U.S. beta. I'm kind of on the fence here because it's like on the one hand, some people are real excited with like the gig economy. It's like I can take a job and work for a little while and then sort of go away. But on the other hand, a lot of companies are like super abusive and difficult to deal with, and it's just not a great situation for freelancers, long or short term.
Well, it devalues the work typically. So like it looks like they're trying to compete with something like Fiverr.
Yeah.
And
it's very much a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
They're ideally what they want is Fiverr, but for more skilled work.
Yeah.
Basically.
It's a really interesting pivot for LinkedIn, to be sure.
Maybe we should try to get Nubbin involved in that. And then we can sort of see how bad it is. But he's got no other options.
Well, with LinkedIn's other acquisitions, it seems like LinkedIn is going for like a central, like, we want to be like the training and certification authority eventually. Like you're going to get your LinkedIn certificate in Security Plus and your LinkedIn certificate in, web, or your LinkedIn certificate in Six Sigma or something.
Well, I'll tell you one company that every day when the leadership of this company wake up and they turn on the computer and they see these headlines about Huawei and hypersonic missiles and stuff like that, they're just like, no, no, please, it's not us.
TikTok tells U.S. lawmakers that it does not give information to China's government. And he was grilled by Congress, but the problem with Congress is they don't even really know what they're asking. And the guy responding to the questions was actually pretty smart. And he had direct answers, but they felt incomplete at times.
They have done a lot to try and prove that they're not involved with the Chinese government, but I don't know how easy it is to get uninvolved with the Chinese government once you are.
Well, what it sounded like to me was like, okay, imagine, we've got, the Level 1 forums and all of this stuff is going on there. And, there's no, CCP party accounts on that. That's completely fine.
There's probably at least one.
But we do have servers that we don't physically have access to that are in China, and so and our backups go there, and it's like, would we know if our backups were stolen if they weren't leaked on the internet?
By the way, it's not true of the Level 1 forum.
Probably
make that
not.
Clear.
Yeah. We don't actually host in China or anything like that. I'm just saying if we did. So with TikTok, it's like if their servers are in China and their infrastructure, is it possible?
Didn't they move it though?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what about the backups? What about replicas? What about the normal process? So it's possible that they could be in there and you'd never know.
And you got to be careful about lying about that, even
Yeah.
if it's just omission, because you're in front of Congress. It's a tough spot to be in, but then again, the nice spot to be in is being the most popular social media platform. Huh?
Good segue.
That would be a pretty cool call to get one day. It's like, hello, this is the State Department. We think that the Chinese or the Russians have targeted you. We've allocated a few $1 million to basically have your own, whatever the equivalent of a Secret Service detail is to protect your online assets. And it's like, wow, that's pretty cool.
They don't do that.
But that's where we're headed. That's where we have to be headed.
You don't want the government in charge of that. What are you talking about?
They do that in Germany to protect some of the industrial and manufacturing secrets, but I think Germany's the only country that I know of that really proactively does that.
And that takes us into the social media section, which you can kind of guess if you've been reading the headlines what this is about. Everything about this is about good old Facebook. But wait, not Facebook.
Facebook is changing its name to Meta. And it's Facebook the company, not Facebook the product. Facebook the product is still going to continue to exist. Facebook.com. Facebook.com is, blah, blah, blah. But Meta is Meta.
It was always confusing that they just called it Facebook for the parent company. That was always strange. I never understood that decision as a branding decision.
I like Mel Brooks' thing, Facebook the flamethrower.
Musk already did that. What about, Krista, the logo where we have the infinity symbol, but it's kind of like it's got a birth defect?
Well, I think they're trying to make it look a little bit like an M. What I think is more interesting, so the old Facebook parent company logo, all caps. In this one, they've done mixed caps. Usually when a company's trying to appear more friendly, they'll go all lowercase.
Well, it's definitely what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
A lot of this, let's face it, is to try to get away from the Facebook name,
yes,
which has been badly poisoned.
Yes.
He's like, maybe the humans will not remember if I change the name.
And that's not the only thing they've figured out. They've also figured out why their relevance has been dwindling lately and why TikTok is dunking on them.
Facebook says it's refocusing the company on, quote, serving young adults, unquote. This is like big tobacco focusing on servicing young adults.
On the lung cancer industry.
So yeah, they're saying, hey, we understand that who we're serving now. Listen, my parents are on Facebook. That means that Facebook is completely irrelevant for anybody who's young. And they're saying, what can we do about this? But I think you have to shake off the old dogs, right? How do you do that?
I think you give them their own sandbox, but then you have something else. Yeah.
Facebook is now old person.
Yeah.
Social media. Hilarious. And Meta is not just a name. By they I mean Zuckerberg, has claimed that the metaverse will be our future. What exactly is the metaverse? No one knows.
I keep looking for details in every one of these articles, thinking like, maybe I'm just dumb. I must not get it. But no, there's just no.
I think this is part of their marketing campaign. I think that the marketing agency that came up with this decided that less is more, and the mystery will build interest. And so if we don't really talk about how it's going to be augmented reality or whatever, that it won't be disappointing when it finally releases.
Which is interesting, because if that's true, and you are someone at Facebook, how are you going to draw up this budget? We're going to spend this much money on, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Facebook is spending at least $10 billion this year on its metaverse division. A lot of that's going to be in EU in an attempt to make the EU regulators, if not happy, placated under the threat of having to now fire all of those people in the EU.
Look at all these jobs we created.
Yeah. Like, if you fine us, we're just going to have to fire all these people. It's like, okay, I guess we won't.
And I'm just trying to do a quick
you're resorting.
preview.
The one tab's going to be weird.
There's the entire rest of the show is about Facebook, basically.
It's in the business section. I didn't put it in this section. All right. Well, I'll just ignore that. Let me come up with a new transition.
Ugh.
So, Facebook. Part of the reason that they're giving up on Facebook and doing something drastic, obviously they've had their troubles in the past, but the bottom line is money, and that line is moving down, and Facebook thinks they know why.
Facebook has said in their quarterly report that Apple's privacy rules are negatively affecting Facebook and its businesses, and it's going to get worse in Q4. That was in the earnings call, where they have to be honest with their shareholders. Somebody made a graph of how good Apple's advertising thing is doing now in their quarterly reporting.
Inverse.
Yeah, it is bananas.
One of those lines is going down, and one of them is going straight up. We call that a death cross. And that is not all of the strife that we learned between Facebook and Apple. This one happened a while back, but we're just now finding out about it. And it's a juicy little detail, too. Now, we've heard in the past, I remember we did a story, I can't remember what the tech tie-in was, but there's this thing in the Middle East in certain countries where the maids are kind of traded like baseball cards. They're like, I'm getting tired of my maid. Let me get yours. All right, here we go. Let's swap. How do you facilitate that? Well, you use Krista's favorite thing in the world.
The marketplace.
The marketplace.
Facebook Marketplace.
Apple once threatened Facebook ban over Mideast maid abuse. So it was so blatant and egregious that Apple was noticing it from the App Store side of things, not traffic inside the app. And Facebook's like, that's just how it is. We don't care.
50 domestic helper. Do you think 50 refers to the number of, or the payment, or... Because it says 23 to 39 years old.
Oh.
Yeah, that's strange.
When you hit 40, can you no longer be a domestic helper?
You can't be, I guess in their mind, probably a hot domestic helper, which is what they care about.
But it's a big industry. Do you think all the girls working there are that Caucasian?
Probably not.
No. They say that they source most of them from Africa. And they have almost no rights. The thing that we found out about, I think they changed the law somewhere where it was like the maids kind of, they stood up a little bit. They're like, no, we're being traded like cattle here.
Yeah.
And I think once you get in, if they fire you, you got to go back home.
Yep.
You can't stay in the country. That was another big thing that they cared about.
So are they, I might be misunderstanding here, but like, do they not have like a parent company who handles all that? Or is it just like each individual maid just works for a family? Basically like indentured servitude.
I'm pretty sure that getting into the country can be conditioned on whether or not you're a maid. So it's almost like a visa program.
Yeah.
But it's
indentured servitude.
It is indentured servitude. That is exactly what you would describe that as. I don't know, and they're into it, but I think once they get there, the terms can change.
Right, and then that's not fair anymore. And they don't have anybody who represents them at the government level to help them get out of that situation. That sucks.
And Facebook had a little bit of a breach. This happened a while back, and they've known about it for a while, but we are just now finding out what's going to happen to this young man.
Facebook sues Ukrainian who scraped the data of 178 million users. So Ukrainian national, he'll probably go back to the Ukraine, and that's probably all that will happen to him.
So yeah, he was, this is one of these hacks where it's like, well, this was kind of a hack, but also you made this really, really poorly.
Yeah.
It was the import feature.
He wrote an Android application to pretend to be a lot of Android phones, and the Facebook thing was basically like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. I mean, this is the kind of thing, you see this pop up in ad industries a lot, where there's definitely a lot of bot traffic happening, but in the analytics that the company provides to the parent company, they're like, oh, that juices our numbers a little bit. Let's not ban the bots completely outright. And so that's probably what was happening here, is like he was scraping data and generating lots of phone IDs, and Facebook, somebody probably knew, but they were looking at the numbers and it's like, wow, we're getting a lot of new phone activations. Let's just let this one slide.
So when you do a phone activation, or you pretend to do a phone activation with a number that you just scraped somewhere and made up, it'll give you all the contacts. So he was just harvesting that, building databases, selling them on the dark web. Brilliant. But
Got caught.
he had to give all the money back, and he might do some time. And Facebook, when they do things wrong, they don't have to worry about jail time. Isn't that convenient? But they do get large fines.
Facebook fined a record £50 million by a UK competition watchdog. Why? Suppressing ads.
Same old story. What do you think about this one, Chris? I guess it's like broken glass Facebook.
It looks like they just took a picture of someone's broken phone with the logo on it.
Kind of a small number for them, though. If you're going to find Facebook, go big. Although they multiplied it hundreds of times because of the egregious nature of it. That's still all they could get.
Some middle manager was just like, yeah, I guess I'll write a check for that, whatever. They don't even care. They never even made it to Zuckerberg.
The headline on this one is very clickbaity, but then you dig into it and it's like, couldn't you say this about a lot of companies?
Oh, this is just woke nonsense. This is people within Facebook who, again, are putting the party line over just being reasonable.
Yeah.
It's just in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Because,
internal messages that have surfaced as a result of lawsuits and whatnot. Facebook staff internally said that it was their company's fault over the January 6th, insurrection. But it's like, you could say the same thing about Twitter or 4chan or
any place where people gather.
Yeah. Like anywhere,
the coffee shop
or
where some people met up
people
before they drove to DC. Like,
yeah.
People have been quiet.
Yeah.
Loud about Google doing this kind of thing.
It's the most disappointing thing about this. I mean, yeah, something clearly happened, and Facebook breeds malcontent, and whatever. That's fine.
The worst parts of humanity are also on Facebook.
But there's so much worse happening, like the Qatar human trafficking thing. Why are we not worried about a company that's complicit in that kind of stuff versus our own dysfunction that would be there regardless?
Because the media narrative did not direct you to that. And our final social media story is not about Facebook, but instead a Facebook competitor. No, it's not going to be one. But we have learned a little bit more about Trump's new Truth platform, specifically the terms of service.
This is republished on MSN from Time. We're getting really weird with the whole anti-paywall thing, but the headline is, what's allowed on Trump's new Truth social media platform and what isn't? What's not allowed, surprisingly, is links to some platforms.
Huh.
Iframing videos, also not allowed.
And
there's not a lot else here.
Wait, they don't allow you to iframe a video?
Nope.
Like you can't share a video? That's interesting.
You might be able to share some videos, but not to every site.
The big one is, two big things that they've admitted here. The first one is this phrase, which, like, if you're going to have total free speech, especially when you're looking at what the existing social media companies did and why this is supposed to exist.
Disparage, tarnish, or otherwise harm, in our opinion, us and or the site.
Now, I get it. If you wrote the terms of service, you'd put that in there too, because that's the only way that you can get ahead of all that. But it doesn't sound like the Truth platform.
If Google had written that into their terms of service, we would probably not be. You'd have to just subscribe on Floatplane and Patreon at this point.
The other thing is they basically, in a flowery statement said, if law enforcement comes here, we'll give them everything.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to fight that. And they have to. Again,
Yeah.
they don't have a choice. But if you're selling it as the alternative, this doesn't sound like an alternative.
Do you think they'll allow you to like upload video and stuff on there?
I
Isn't
don't-
that like a huge bandwidth cost?
It seems like everything about this is in question. I admit I thought that he would do a better job, but the more we see of it, it looks like it's another MyPillow.
Yeah.
Not quite as bad, but it's going to be a huge flop. I
Well,
think.
it's not launched yet. When is it supposed to launch? Do we know?
First of the year. I think the SPAC numbers went back down too. Like there was a lot of initial investment furor, and then people were like, "Okay, maybe this sucks," and maybe it does.
What if the design's like really good? And it's like, man, I don't agree with this, but man, what a good UX. Everyone else should be taking notes.
You should make that video if that happens, Chris. Oh boy, would that get a lot of hits.
That would get a lot of hits.
All right. Well, tomorrow will be business and security.
We will see you guys then. Bye. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today's November 3rd, and we're doing business and security. Wait, not business.
Business.
Was it business? Did I say business last time?
Last episode, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
My brain might have auto-corrected that. I don't remember.
Oh, we'll learn more about that later.
Yeah, someone I'm sure will comment.
Well, the big business news this week, and certainly in the technology world, everybody was waiting to see, can Apple do it again? They blew everybody's mind with the M1, but can they follow up on that?
Apple's M1 Pro and M1 Max system on chip investigated new performance and efficiency heights. This is from Anantech. They did a really good job writing this up and doing all that kind of stuff. They're nice. They do a lot. The strangest thing with it is that the performance of a single M1 core hasn't really moved. So these laptops just have 10 of them and also a crap load of GPU cores. So as where the first M1 system on chip was kind of anemic, 10 cores plus up to 32 GPU cores plus dual HBM memory. Yeah, it's really insane now.
Definitely seems like these will be a competitor in the desktop market, but in the laptop market, are they still number one? Who has the fastest CPU for gaming? And I realize I've sorted incorrectly.
Oh,
Oops.
CPU benchmarks pre-release Intel Alder Lake chips beat Intel's Apple M1 Max. At the time we're filming this, we can't say what the actual results are, but there's this, and this is a leak, and this leak says it beats the Apple's M1 Max. Now, at the back of your mind, you should be worried about the whole power envelope delta, because a single core on the M1 doesn't use a lot of power, but a single core on the Intel side, oh boy, it's a lot of power.
No, that's fine. I don't think that energy costs are set to go up, are they?
It certainly doesn't matter if you have a 95-watt laptop. It's fine.
Oh, and Apple, it seems, in the face of the ongoing antitrust push and their recent court wins/losses, they are making some concessions.
Apple updates its App Store guidelines to permit developers to contact customers about other payment methods. Weirdly, though, they can't require an email address or other contact information. They just can request it.
I like that.
This is a bit of a waffle over because the Epic thing, because they were like, we're going to comply with the settlement and then we're going to change it, and then they weren't. And it seems like Apple is kind of swinging on both sides of what they have to do while the appeal is pending in the Epic case.
An app never needs my email address.
Well, how are they going to get money directly from you?
how can they not send you notifications incessantly in your email inbox?
Amazon Pay.
Okay.
I'll just give all my money to Bezos. I'm comfortable with that at this point. And when it comes to all the money, Bezos does have a lot of it, but he keeps leapfrogging with Mr. Musk over who has the most. And this one is bad news for him.
Tesla surpasses a $1 trillion market valuation. Mostly that was Hertz. Hertz in their 100,000 car order, but hey, whatever.
That is going to be dangerous because we're about to see full self-driving in the hands of more morons all over the country.
It's full self-driving.
I thought you were going to say that's dangerous for him because the guillotines come out at 1 trillion. It's a game event once you hit that.
I don't think so. I think he's good at the PR. People like him. I don't know why, but they do.
I don't know. I feel like public opinion is maybe changing a little bit, but we'll see.
Yeah, but the next time you put something in space,
Yeah, everyone
everybody's like,
forgets that,
"Oh
yeah.
yeah, space." Doesn't matter. And you know what I meant to do originally, because the sort was going to be like, Google, Antitrust, App Store guidelines. Maybe it's because of this, and I just screwed myself again. It was a bad sort today.
Exclusive. Google warns customers about antitrust bills. So there's a lot of people looking into Google right now, and Google-owned companies, Alphabet-owned companies. And Google's trying to get in front of that a little bit, in front of their customers to say, hey, look, this is misleading. We need this in order to do this thing. Like, what they're saying is that we make a lot of money on this, and that's not really true. I mean, we do, but...
Well, more importantly, it's more of a threat. They're saying, hey, you like all of your analytics, right? You like all your Google products. Makes your business run really smooth, right? What if something were to happen to those?
Be a shame for your ad revenue to go to zero.
What if you couldn't track your customers anymore? What if your email wasn't even working? What's going to happen then? And the other argument they make is all this stuff we're being accused of, we don't really do stuff like that. We don't use our position to manipulate other companies and force them to do things they don't want to do. That's just not something that Google does.
What an amazing transition. Leaked email allegedly shows that Google did actually ask Roku for special search treatment for YouTube.
There's always an email, isn't there?
You got to read this comment. Again, it's like it goes back to what we were saying on Monday. It's like we obsessively document things, which is great for when things are illegal or happening.
Now, this is the statement that was made before this email was leaked.
Yeah, when we covered this a couple of weeks ago, Google said, to be clear, we have never, as they have alleged, made any requests to access user data or interfere with search results. This claim is baseless and false.
Was that email a lie?
Survey says. Yes, in fact, there was an email where they said that they would like to have some preferential treatment.
And as Roku pointed out, we covered that last week, Roku was like, they didn't want more money. We might have played ball with more money. They wanted to control our search results and insisted that certain things appear on our dashboards in certain places that were all YouTube products. So, it sounds like a lie to me.
That'll come out of the antitrust.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough email. That email's going to cost them a lot of money. And speaking of companies who lie, remember AT&T's lies about 5G are too many. We can't enumerate all of them. The biggest ones were, this is 5G when it was just more 4G.
Yeah.
And then the other one was, this new 5G is as good as everybody else's 5G when it was missing very important aspects.
AT&T 5G Plus expansion plan highlights how much its mid-band coverage trails T-Mobile. So remember the congressional hearings, like the acquisition thing, when the CEO of T-Mobile said AT&T is lying to Congress because they know that you need 5G at the mid-band to cover all of the use cases in America. We've got the high end and the low end. That's for density and range. We need something in the middle for basically all of America, because all of America is not rural Nebraska and not New York. And that's pretty plain language, pretty easy for CEO to understand. And AT&T was like, we don't need mid-band 5G. Well, here it is, right there.
So they're going to add mid-band 5G for your 5G Plus subscription. 5G Plus is not 5G. The 5G subscription still won't have it.
What a hideously evil company. I mean, just so wretched.
And as we saw last episode, the big banks and the government regulators they're ready to take the step into cryptocurrency because they need to control it.
Bloomberg reports that MasterCard is going to allow banks to offer crypto credit and debit cards. Remember when MasterCard and banks like Chase were just turning people off? Yo, we see that you transferred $2,000 to Coinbase. Here's a check for your balance. You no longer bank with us. That was the thing that Chase did. Chase literally did that.
Chase is garbage.
And now they're like, okay, yeah, let's do this. And MasterCard's like, yeah, this crypto thing, woo, we're on board.
It's almost like the market forced their hand.
Or they're in control of it now and satisfied with it.
Remember Clubhouse?
Oh, yeah.
No one does.
No.
I don't think that it ever turned into anything cool. Elon Musk made it cool for 10 minutes, But that was just cult of personality. It wasn't really
That's
a
just
great product.
frat bro stuff.
And so Amazon is taking a look at it, and they say, you know what? We could leverage some of the other stuff that we have as part of your Prime subscription here. We can make that a lot cooler.
Amazon is building a Clubhouse competitor that turns hosts into DJs. Amazon's got the licenses for the music. People like having a curated music list. What about a music channel where you tune in and there's 3,000 people listening to a person organize and curate the list and, blend the tracks together? That would be okay under copyright law. People actually want that. I think this is a good idea.
I do too, and I would love to do this. I've definitely got some DJ fantasies. I would love to show you my eclectic taste in music. Even more so, I would love for Wendell to have to do it.
Oh.
But the rule is no Weird Al. You got to do an hour of musical programming, no Weird Al.
Well, thank God for Dr. Demento and...
No parodies.
Oh.
Just music for music's sake.
Right.
I only made it through Kraftwerk. That's all I've got.
If you had to pick a genre that's not parody, what genre do you enjoy?
Electronic digital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's good dance music.
No question about
Also, like the score from Revenge of the Nerds, where they're doing the talent competition, whatever that was, whatever genre that
I like
is.
movie scores. That's a valid choice.
But it's always his emotional attachment to music has to be through another avenue.
Oh,
That's what's
true.
hilarious about it. There's a reason he likes that, not because of the music.
Yeah.
It's just an association.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing that inside that brain, something got turned off and a bunch of other stuff got turned on. If you could do that, would you do it for a kid? For your child? Having lived with it.
Probably not.
Do you think the music is worth something?
I mean, well, just the other things that
other
come
stuff.
along with that.
Aesthetic appreciation has a place.
Telling left from right?
Yeah. There's...
Now, see, I have that struggle too, and me and Wendell are on opposite ends of the spectrum because he's hard science and I'm hard art. Neither of us are good at it.
But both of you are walking into walls.
Yeah.
Well, I just got a new ISP. Oh, I'm so happy about it. I'm so happy. It increases my happiness to such a degree. It's amazing. And this company wants to bring that to the rest of the country, I guess.
This startup wants to disrupt big internet providers. Basically, it's a private company that's taking the municipal broadband idea, but they are doing it privately. So what they would do is do the last mile fiber service and then rent it out to companies. Now, the reason this hasn't worked previously is because if you have AT&T and Spectrum together, they will collude not to bid on your last mile fiber to put you out of business, and then they will buy it and then not use it. That is literally the design pattern for this kind of business all over the country. So this company is going to offer a very low tier service on the fiber and allow other companies to offer better services.
But they already have really nice service, right? I think it's $50 for 500 megabit.
Yep.
And 70 or 65 for gigabit.
Yeah.
Spectrum and AT&T can't touch that.
By offering other companies access to their network, they're able to clear some regulatory hurdles that they otherwise wouldn't be able to clear. So they may actually be onto something with this.
Now, how angry are Spectrum customers going to be when they offer Spectrum through the fiber in that location? But nowhere else.
See, I think that Spectrum certainly has tried to preempt this kind of thing by mandating franchise agreements. So if you have a small town, they would say, this company is competing with us. That is against the franchise agreement. We are allowed to sell service. But this company is selling service to customers that are underserved in that area. So it's kind of a gray area.
That's when you contact your city council, or whoever makes that decision, and you let them know about the social media campaign to support the other guy.
Yeah.
If they do that.
Yeah, literally, the city councilor, they're creating a situation so that the city management hopefully looks at this and it's like, I don't understand why you're against this company giving you access to their network. I mean, you're telling us that it takes millions of dollars a year for you to maintain your infrastructure, and this company somehow is doing it for way less than that. And they're going to give you access to their network for less than it costs you to maintain your own network. How is that a bad thing again?
And they say, oh, did you know we were a monopoly? Do you know how much money we make being a monopoly? That would threaten that. It's getting to the point where I know how cliche it is. When it comes out of my mouth, this is when the media conditions you to the point where they tell the lie so many times, and when somebody parrots the lie to you, and you're like, no, that's not true. And they're like, that's just a talking point. I was like, no, I've looked into it. I'm fairly confident. I have that same feeling now when I make comparisons to 1984.
Yeah.
But this is the memory hole. It's exactly the same thing. Not necessarily state-run, I guess, but in a way, the state certainly has a hand in this.
Gizmodo's photos from the massive iPhone 4 leak have disappeared. Why have they disappeared? Well, their parent company is taking down a lot of old media because they keep getting false copyright claims, and, well, frankly, it's just exhausting having all of those old images up.
So they point out several other things. There was articles that, like this anti-union article had some shots. That's gone. An anti-Amazon article from Gizmodo.
Huh.
Oh. And this was some stuff about Nintendo. Have they ever done anything aggressive with copyrights?
Nintendo, what are you doing?
They pointed out that this was an image that was created specifically for the story, but because of the content, it's a SNES game and an ice cube. It's actually pretty good. Can't show it anymore. Just gone. So they point out that, like, what's going to be left of the internet if this continues and gets worse?
Certainly a lot of YouTubers, you use, like, the music providers, and then 5 years later, the music providers are like, hey, we're going to claim copyright on that. You use their music. And it's like, no, at the time that I used it. But it was
fine, yeah.
Yeah, it was a free, perpetual, worldwide, irrevocable license. And
well, that's the way a lot of things work now, too. There's, like, MusicBed, I think, is one where it's like, free YouTube music, license it through us through a monthly subscription. I'm like, what happens when that monthly subscription ends? Does that mean my whole back catalog? Yeah.
That's probably, that's almost like a payday loan type deal where they get you both ways.
Every view is a new performance under copyright law.
So what was the name of the dark web service that put research papers up there? Do you remember the name of that?
Oh, yeah. I thought about that when I was reading this, and I was like, that's amazing. Was it Elsevier?
Something like that. But anyway, it got shut down because they were technically violating copyright. By doing what they were doing was illegal in some places and a lot of places.
Almost all the researchers were like, no, you're doing God's work. This is amazing. But that's just not how it works.
So the actual industry behind the scientists and researchers was like, no.
They found hosting, and they had a lot of support, and there were definitely an infrastructure to help them. But then, country by country, you'd get stuff like DNS blocks and takedowns and stuff like that.
Their domain name got seized.
Lawsuits. So what do? Well, this brilliant man, figured out to the letter of the law how to get around it. What is your time frame on how long before they go?
The lawsuit has already been filed.
Wow.
Probably so.
Giant free index to the world's research papers has been released online. A catalog of billions of phrases from 107 million papers could ease computerized searching of the literature. So all this stuff is hidden behind a paywall. You can't really get at it, blah, blah, blah. He has indexed all of those. And he's indexed it in such a way that you can't reconstruct the original research papers. So I think that what he's counting on legal theory-wise is basically like a telephone directory. And I think this probably will hold up under U.S. law. That won't stop them. I mean, remember Bleem, the PlayStation emulator? That was also legal, but Sony still just sued them into oblivion and appealed and sued them into oblivion and just, bankrupted the developers for doing something that was actually legal. That's going to happen with this guy.
So the reason it's just phrases is because, obviously copyright and plagiarism, 5 words, or is it 6 words?
It's like 5 or 6.
5 or 6 words you can get away with. You can reproduce that, and it's not a big deal because it's just a fragment. So he has used that to create a searchable index so that you can now search these works, at least, and it'll tell you if your thing appears there, and then it'll tell you how to get to the real paper. You couldn't even search them before that because indexing them would have violated something.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And it's like a telephone directory and under the law. Like, that's what the defense attorney needs to focus on. It's like, this is just a telephone directory for the 21st century.
For now.
That's all it is.
For now. The law's going to change.
Yeah.
Rapidly. It'll make your head spin how quick that law changes. And, this should have been in the hardware section. But one thing we know about Meta, we don't know what the metaverse is. We don't know what we're going to do in the metaverse. We don't know how the Facebook rules are going to apply to the metaverse. But we know that they have at least designed one piece of hardware.
Facebook's Meta Watch has a camera notch, according to the first leaked image.
That's a privacy concern.
Yeah, I don't love that.
I can't wait for the press photos to show a bunch of people, that are very fit and very young and attractive, and they're all having fun. And one of them has got his watch, and he's like, "Everybody smile!"
Or take a selfie.
Also, people would get really good at
Yeah. Do you think my camera will be any good? It's a pretty small form factor.
I don't know. They've gotten scary in phones. I never would have thought that a phone can have a reasonable 4K 60 capture, but they totally can.
We're going to see so many videos from the perspective of the cuffs and the cop going in his pocket for the crack.
Ooh.
Oh man, there have been 2 or 3 new videos this week where the cops accidentally recorded themselves figuring out how they're going to frame the guy that was annoying him.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot more of those.
The people that film the cops get that constantly. And they always forget to turn the camera off when they seize it. Do you think they should have some sort of professional development retreat that they go to that they teach them how to do all that
How
stuff?
to tell if the phone is streaming to Twitch live.
Yeah. Or maybe get some of those little pouches, those little Faraday pouches,
Oh yeah,
like at the concerts.
yeah. They used to hand those out like candy at those law enforcement events.
I think you got to hand them back in, though, don't you?
No, they let it. Well, I mean, I don't know. I thought you could keep them.
Oh, as like an advertising. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, let's try and think about, I don't remember the exact series of events, so you'll have to help me, but the saga of Oculus. So Oculus created the most popular VR platform.
And
For
then
a
Facebook
while,
bought it.
They were the number one by far. And it was popular enough that Facebook stepped in and bought it. Then Facebook, faced with backlash, said, listen, this is Oculus. This is not Facebook.
You'll never need an account to
Right.
log into your Oculus.
We're not going to kill this off or do anything bad to it. This is just, we bought it. We're gonna leave these people in charge, even. And then eventually the Oculus CEO left, and they forced a Facebook registration. And then they announced that going forward, maybe, I don't even know if we'll call the new one Oculus. Maybe we'll just call it Facebook. I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? But the Oculus brand is still strong.
Company, formerly known as Facebook, unceremoniously kills off the Oculus brand. To his credit, John Carmack did actually release the unlocker for the Oculus Go. They've just outright abandoned the Oculus Go. So if you
Would have
want
been a paperweight.
Yeah, if you wanna hack on that, you have literally John Carmack, the nerd behind the Doom engine and Quake and Wolfenstein, to thank for the fact that your Oculus Go is not a brick currently.
When did this happen? Because I was just on their website the other day, and Oculus was still listed under Facebook products.
Well, that's hilarious when it happened. So Zuckerberg did the big Meta speech, right?
Yeah.
They did the presentation, and one of the things he said in the presentation, I don't remember the quote, but he was saying no, we're not changing everything. We're not doing all these things that we're not destroying any of the Facebook stuff. It's all going to be left alone. The next day, they didn't mention anything about this at that event. The next day, that guy posted a blog post hidden away somewhere. And people found it, and they're like, wait a minute, this means you're killing Oculus.
It's still on their, at the time of recording, I think. It's still on their website as a product they offer, but probably not for long.
No, the next version will not be called that. I mean, you got to call that thing that, right? Because you printed it on the box.
Yeah.
Did you mean to skip that story?
But then, did I?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good catch. I got caught up in the banter. And this one is, come on. Everybody knew this was going to happen.
We literally warned you this would happen before the lockdown.
There was no chance that this could not happen.
A security bug in a health app Docket, did you use Docket for the thing? Exposed records about whether or not you got the jab. The bug, now fixed, allowed access to other people's vax records. Seems kind of catastrophic.
Yeah, and the old, this gets everybody who does this kind of thing, the linear iterating user ID. You don't want the linear iterating user ID, and if you do have that, you sure as hell don't want an endpoint that takes that as an argument that doesn't authenticate.
Oh, my Lord.
Because that's what they had. Once you saw your URL, just increase by 1, you'll see somebody else's card. Increase it again, build a scraper.
This is worse than the social security number thing that they're still doubling and tripling down on.
Well, it'd be hard to steal somebody's identity with that information. But it would be easy to target them if they don't have an entry. Yeah. And Iran has had some issues. Iran is an interesting place because they have a lot of oil. A lot of oil.
And that's a state-run industry.
And if you live there, you get a special kind of card that if you visit Iran, gas ain't that cheap. But if you have your citizen card, gas is real cheap. I mean, just it's ridiculously cheap. But that means that there is a centralized system that has to be operable.
A cyber attack paralyzed every gas station in Iran. And this details how that happened. Yay, state-run industry.
They don't know who did it, but they've got a guess.
Oh, Lord.
We might have been involved in that. One of our friends over there in that area, we might have assisted a bit. DeFi is the big catchphrase now. You want to decentralize your cryptocurrency, but it seems like every time you do that, you run into this.
DeFi protocol Cream Finance loses another $130 million in latest crypto hack.
At least one a week these days.
Yeah,
I thought the
sucks to suck.
I thought the subheading was crypto berries, and now it's like, ooh, I need to trademark that if that's not already trademarked. Crypto berries. I don't know what that is yet.
Crypto berries and cream.
A new NFT? Is that a deal?
Yeah, I don't.
What if we did a Tamagotchi style thing where the NFT, it was a plant and you had to nurture it, and then you could trade it later.
The level of neglect the plant endures vastly affects its genetic profile.
And the eventual price on the marketplace. November. And once in a while, someone will figure out a way to steal Bitcoins that's brilliant, but it's almost like when they're doing it, they're like, this will never work, and they don't take any security precautions. And then when it does work amazingly well, there's a trail of breadcrumbs that's going to get you every single time.
Teen bought Google ad for his scam website and made 48 Bitcoin duping UK online shoppers. And the judge said if he was an adult, he would be going inside.
But 48
Inside the
Bitcoins
jail.
during that time was not what it is now. It was much less, way less. So I don't think he got that kind of money. But if he had kept it till today and didn't have to give everything back, 2.1 million pounds.
Seems like he could just, write the people that he scammed, £1 million, like split £1 million between them and keep it and still be better off.
Oh, I think the state will do that. So his game was he got a Google ad that pointed to a certain website, or at least it said it did, and then he made a perfect copy of that website. Now, you know what? That would be a Devember project.
Yeah.
We would have to denounce it. But secretly, I'd be like, wow, that's impressive.
I'm not even angry.
Should we hire him? And we got our weekly ransomware. This time it wasn't a huge target. This one may be more ideological than commercial, but they did it.
The operators of the Grief ransomware have today listed the U.S. National Rifle Association as one of their victims.
Look at that website. It looks like Angel Fire.
Oh, wow. Tripod. Brings back some memories.
The NRA is not what it once was. And a bit of a win, although there's so many caveats here.
It's a Pyrrhic victory.
Yeah, but hey, you take what you can, right?
Proton Mail celebrates a Swiss court victory exempting it from telco data retention laws. Remember those French protesters that were apartment sitting? They were squatting in an apartment.
I was going to say which ones because they're always protesting.
It was a state building, wasn't it?
Yeah, but they were squatting, and they were, the state police in France labeled them as terrorists and contacted the Swiss police and said, hey, Proton Mail, we need info. Proton Mail didn't have any info because they don't log it. But Proton Mail was required under Swiss law to change their program to log the mobile push IDs. We get a little bit more details about that case of the people that were using Proton Mail. Well, with the push IDs, that uniquely identifies a mobile device. It makes it a lot easier to search the network for those devices. That's how they found those people. Well, Proton Mail finally got the court to say, hey, we can't compel Proton Mail to modify their service to retain records they otherwise do not retain. You can do that with a communications provider, but Proton Mail just barely doesn't classify as a communications provider under Swiss law.
But they did previously put them in that basket with the ISPs to get what they wanted.
Yeah. And I think this is a very skin of the teeth, and I think it'll be pretty easy to convince some lawmaker that they need to close that loophole. So I don't know that we've really had any significant victory here. but how this was used in this specific case is offensive.
And that's a public service announcement. I mean, we're going toward a time where you might find yourself in need of protesting something. You know, I mean, and I know I'm not talking about political ideology. I'm talking about when bread is $50. You might want to, you know, say some things. Never take your phone. I realize how inconvenient that is, but trust me, never take your phone.
They had a case of Orange Crush. It was $11.
For
That's
a 12,
illegal.
For 12 cans?
What retailer was
24.
Oh.
What retailer was doing that?
That was, I don't know. I think that was, I got that information secondhand, but I got a picture. And it was like, there's no way that's right. And
Was that like a convenience store or something?
Yeah.
Wow. Somebody knows what they got.
It's bad. It's really
24 cans. What's that? What was that in the before times?
like $4.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds right, like $4 or $5. Wow.
Yeah. 50 cents a can is basically what you're paying there. That's gas station, like, chilled individual serving prices.
Yeah.
In the big gulp. Like, it's not even 12 ounces. It's like, you know, the fountain grade stuff. I don't know.
Well, Windows 11 is out there, and a lot of people are saying, I'm not interested in that for a variety of reasons, and they're hanging on to Windows 10. And Microsoft is like, well, hang on, wait. We wanted you to upgrade. You will upgrade, or we will force you.
Microsoft is force installing PC Health Check in Windows 10. So this is the thing that's going to come up and nag you if your computer's not good enough for Windows 11. It's like, do we need a program to tell me that?
Yes.
Just turn off the TPM on your motherboard. Mine's off by default. I'm just like, hey, I'm fine with this. Because Microsoft will not bother you if you do that. The darknet continues to be probably the globe's biggest drug dealer, ultimately. Maybe not at wholesale prices, but to the last mile of drug dealing is big on the dark web. And they're constantly setting up these things. I feel like 150 is a tragically low number for what they invested in this, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
Probably.
150 people arrested in international darknet opioid probe. So this sounds like a distribution network, but when you dig into it, it seems like it was just like, you know, the local last mile.
And I think that's what happens in the dark web. Like the big shipments of the precursors for fentanyl and stuff like that. I don't think that happens on the dark web. Maybe it does.
A really obscure corner of it, maybe.
But you definitely wouldn't open that up to user registration.
Yeah.
It's like a box service, like Blue Apron, but it's for drugs.
I mean, that's basically what they have on the dark web.
What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a mule.
And when it comes to bad malware, we learn more and more that the checks and balances might be there, but no one's really paying attention. It's like they're putting stuff through the X-ray machine, but when it beeps, no one does anything.
Hackers somehow got their rootkit a Microsoft-issued digital signature. 5sys rootkit somehow got a valid digital signature to help bypass cybersecurity measures in order to steal usernames and passwords from victims. This was surprising to the article author, but remember the Sony rootkit? Sony literally wrote a rootkit to try to stop you from burning CDs, and Microsoft was like, it's fine.
And that guy who was blowing the whistle on all the Microsoft-hosted SharePoint and Exchange stuff?
Yeah, it's like, put your malware on OneDrive. Microsoft will never take it down.
And they pointed out, I don't know what happened with that, but I didn't see any follow-ups where Microsoft was like, oh, God, we got to fix this. And we have a data breach. Again, we need to have at least one a week, right? And this one is interesting because literally 3 years ago, this company's biggest competitors, might even be some sort of like umbrella-owned same company, had this exact same thing happen to them. And they didn't look in the mirror at all and be like, maybe
we should look into that.
Yeah, should we change anything? No, it'll be fine.
Zales.com leaked customer data, just like sister firms Jared and Kay Jewelers did in 2018. So if you're interested in diamonds online, which actually this is really fun because we could mess with the algorithm. If we mention diamonds a whole bunch near the beginning of the episode or in the title, you're going to get a lot of ads for diamonds. Probably going to get a lot of ads for diamonds just from having read that.
Jewelry, diamonds. What other keywords?
We
Gold.
We're going to remember to title it.
Engagement ring. Engagement ring challenge.
Engagement challenge.
We're gonna forget that title by the time we go to title this next week, we'll forget that.
It happens every time. I think last week you had a really good one for one of the episodes, and we totally
spaced out.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. Literally does not matter. We could title it, reheated poop, and people would be like, all right, sounds good.
YouTube doesn't seem to care anymore.
Yeah, YouTube's going to show it to the same 25,000 people no matter what we do.
They do still really heavily weight the first 10 minutes of closed captioning.
Do you think that's a time-saving measure?
Yeah.
How do we boost that first 10 minutes?
We talk about Joe Biden for the first 10 minutes.
No, probably Logan Paul. And then the
whatever's
algorithm
trending on YouTube, I guess.
and then
We
the
have to check
algorithm is
that.
like
Transgender.
Yeah. No, that's on the naughty list.
No,
We
but if
can't-
we're pro-transgender,
No,
we'll get in the featured.
No, see, they say that they're pro that, but they're actually anti that when you look at what they do with the keywords.
Yeah, you gotta check the trending list. It's usually like Minecraft stuff or like some new pop song that came out. We have to talk about that for 10 minutes.
Are you suggesting that the entire transgender movement has been co-opted by corporations and is now basically meaningless and just a way to crush dissent?
Not only has it, I mean, I may be suggesting that. I don't know. I can neither confirm it or no. But
Would you say you're fluid on it?
I would definitely. But not only that when those kinds of things pop up, they know immediately exactly what to do with you. And
Yes, they can crush it no matter where you stand on
right.
it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I would agree with that observation for sure.
So they've moved the conversation about those things from being relevant and meaningful to just, it's like, let's just
Advertisers don't like that, so we're gonna put it over here.
we're just going to put all of those people in this room, and we're just going to close the door and forget that they're there.
That seems like the opposite of what they're advertising.
No, doesn't it? It's somehow worse than being pro or anti if you just...
Right.
It's always just been about the advertising.
You can't be on the sidelines anymore. It's lonely over here, I'll tell you. Well, license plate readers, we know how ubiquitous they are. We know that they are on every police vehicle. We know they're on taxis. We know they're on the side of the road, mounted to poles at various locations. But what about private license plate readers in the hands of private entities? How terrifying is that?
License plate scanners were supposed to bring peace of mind. Instead, they tore the neighborhood apart because they were tracking where everybody went, and neighbors started shooting each other, and oh boy.
They being a homeowners association.
Ugh.
So the homeowners association, they said, hey, we have crime in the neighborhood. We need to do something about it. They interviewed some people, and they were like, there was no crime. We were fine. There was no crime. It was just an overzealous HOA person. I don't know how true that is.
Someone's grass was an inch above what it was supposed to be.
Exactly. So they put the license plate reader in the entrance to the subdivision. So anytime you came in and out, you got logged, right? And they gave every member of the HOA the login, which means that everybody in the subdivision could suddenly spy on everybody else. And it devolved into something terrible pretty quickly.
Yay!
That's why one of my conditions when I bought a house was no HOAs.
Also, that license plate service like $5,000 a month for the full software package.
Pretty sure we could have wrote that in FFmpeg in a weekend.
How much?
No, it's not even video. It's just a dashboard to show you the plate numbers. Yeah. We could have built that. And
What are the dues
HTML,
for that
PHP, we don't
neighborhood
even
if they're able to afford that? Because usually, like, HOAs also have like a pool and like other amenities, so they're paying for the amenities plus that $5,000 a month.
yeah, it probably went up.
Yeah, stupid.
Remember the Sinclair ransomware attack? We talked about how that shut them down, and it proved that everything is run from one command and control location. Your local feeds are not controlled anywhere in your state, actually. There's just one building that does it all, and because of that, the ransomware was particularly effective.
Sinclair workers say that the TV channels are in pandemonium after a ransomware attack. Why? Well, because Sinclair has specifically only hired people that follow orders. They don't really want anyone that can think for themselves. As a result, all of the local TV channels are in chaos because literally no one there knows how to run things, which is by design.
Did you say Sinclair or FBI?
I didn't notice this. My mom, I don't have cable. I asked my mom about it, and I don't think she noticed anything either. I don't know.
A lot of the TV hosts now, and I don't know, the channels around here, because I get to see some of this because mom.
Yeah.
And the channels around here, like the hosts are like trying to, joke and have banter and stuff, but it's worse than like It's worse than us.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I didn't want to complete the sentence, but
It's worse than like, even like some of the really terrible YouTube channels where, somebody just decided today that they were going to be a YouTuber and they're filming it on their phone. It's worse than that.
Well, what value do they offer at this point?
They were an empty vessel. That was
it's
parroting
mostly
them.
just old people who watch the news. Like I go to the local news station, like their website, if I want to see news.
Yeah, but the news anchors like have their laptop on the desk now, and they're just reading the news from like Reuters.com. They're like, "Oh my God, the world is so dark," and it's like,
Well, that hits a little close to home, doesn't it? But yeah, it's disgusting, and Sinclair is decidedly a political bias. They're very right wing. I don't know if we have a local Sinclair station, Krista. That might be why.
Do we
you didn't
not? Maybe
notice
that's
it.
why my mom didn't notice anything, because I asked her about it.
And our final story is another story just like that one where, if you've ever watched any of these or you pay attention to the news, you're going to be like, yeah, well, of course, obviously, I already knew this. But now the normies are starting to find out, and we're starting to figure out exactly how bad it is.
Internet service providers collect and sell a horrifying amount of sensitive data, a government study concludes. Remember that? Remember when the ISPs were like, no, we need to control your DNS. You can't have encrypted DNS everywhere. That's crazy. Exhibit A.
So they did not name any names. Why not? I mean, come on. But they pointed out, what was it, like 7 or 8 major ISPs, which is all of them?
Yeah.
And they were all offenders. There were some that were worse than others, but even the ones who claimed they didn't do this were using some like third-party nonsense to get around it. They were still doing it.
Now, my favorite thing about this story is not that this, government study, blah, blah, blah. Why did this come about? This came about because the FTC was earnestly trying to do what Ajit Pai told them they were responsible for, and they didn't know. That was the climate that we were in with Ajit Pai. He's like, no, this is an FTC thing. And the FTC's like, wait, we thought you guys were doing this. Oh, okay. We'll give it the old college try. This is a result from them just trying in earnest to look at the industry to see if it needs regulation. They opened it up, and it was like just the most horrifying thing you could possibly imagine. And they quickly closed it.
But I doubt that the specific series of events that has to happen for this to happen would. But if by some miracle Rosenworcel gets confirmed before the end of the year and the FTC kicks this back up, it'll be like a wheel kick into the goal. She'll be like, she'll do a full 360 and then she'll pull her shirt off like that one Olympics girl and run around in her sports bra to dunk on this, because this is just so obvious.
She's taking her shirt and like whipping other regulators.
Yeah, and it's just why did you need 3 bozos, at a table to tell you that this was happening, and no one else is reporting on this or saying anything about it?
Yeah, so we're reading a report from someone else.
Yeah, but I mean, we were saying this on like day 1 of Ajit Pai's inauguration. Like, this is the plan, guys.
You got to look back at that again, and I'll say it. Ajit Pai was the hardest working man in corruption. Look what he got done.
He did accomplish a lot in a very short amount of time.
That's incredible.
For the top 8 or so ISPs.
When it comes to government accomplishments in short periods of time, Ajit Pai's got to be near the top.
They're not good accomplishments,
No.
but they did accomplish stuff.
I wonder if in his mind he's like, look, I created a whole new market. That's a whole new revenue stream for ISPs. And it's just like...
I spend way too much time thinking about that. I spend my time thinking, are you just greedy, or do you believe some of this stuff? And I think if they believe it, it's so much more dangerous.
That's what I was saying in that one episode, like Monday, I guess, because it's like, if they really believe this, there is no hope, and the aliens need to come and just sterilize.
There's a more do-it-yourself way we could deal with that.
And YouTube, if that was in the first 10 minutes, YouTube was like, oh, don't show that to anybody.
I'm talking about discourse, of course.
Right. Yes.
And not the forum software.
Anyway.
Krista, I cut off 2 of your buys last week because when Wendell did it and I cut it off in the middle, it was hilarious. But when you do it, it's not as hilarious and people were angry.
Really?
So please give us a prolonged goodbye.
Bye. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today is November 5th. We are almost at the end of the year, and today is a classic robot and nonsense. Also, I realized I didn't do a Facebook Marketplace. find this week because it's all Halloween costumes right now.
Were there not some people tweeting those at us?
Someone did tweet a couple of them. I didn't get a chance to look. Also, I didn't want to look at like their location because it's probably nearby them, right?
Oh, that's true.
And I was like, oh.
Twitter is not the way to communicate with us.
Yeah.
I don't know what the way is because I avoid most of it, to be honest with you.
Forum's not bad.
YouTube comments, I do read those. Well, let's talk about some robots, and let's talk about McDonald's. McDonald's has been talking about this for a long time. And I think the local McDonald's, I saw they dug up everything. Did you notice that?
The one by the interstate?
No, the one by the Kroger.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
They dug up that entire parking lot, and then it looked like there was new drive-thru lanes. So I think they might have been prepping for this.
Oh.
McDonald's has entered a strategic partnership with IBM to automate the drive-thru lanes. IBM thinks they can do it. We'll see. We'll see if they're able to deal with the Eastern Kentucky accent.
No, they almost certainly won't be able to. I would think, didn't they talk about wanting to just put screens in for a long time? They do that in the lobby, but I don't think they've done it in the...
Touch screens for the drive-thru?
I've heard that.
It won't work unless they can move up and down.
Oh, we need to do a special follow-up on Flippy also because White Castle is deploying them like everywhere now, and White Castle has done really well with Flippy.
So this has to do with AI that listens to your voice and parses it and helps the people taking the orders get the order right. They have run a limited trial in some places, and they claim that it's fantastic.
Where was it? There was somewhere I went through the drive-thru, and the person that I was with, we ordered on a phone, and then we got to the window, and it was like, I ordered online. Oh, I think it was... No, I don't remember where it was. But it was crazy because we were in line, and then we got to the speaker, and it was like, we already ordered online, we're just driving through to pick up. And they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. And they had it was all ready to go immediately, and it was great and delicious.
I know McDonald's has it's like a pull-in spot where it's like online order pickup. I didn't know you could go through the drive-thru to do that.
Well, not every place has that, though. So what's the moral of the story? Just that you liked it?
Yeah, because it was a complicated order, and it was basically just a pickup. It was great.
Yeah, instead of having to like relay the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great as long as that app's not on your phone, right?
Right.
You're going to put that app on your phone?
No.
Exactly.
But if the app, if they had a website, or I could trust that the app was actually properly sandboxed, I would run the app.
You're going to... Oh, so you're talking about the OS doing that, not McDonald's.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Maybe that.
Virtual machines are not that hard on a phone. I mean, come on. But yeah, no one will do it because then they can't mine the analytics.
And sell it to McDonald's.
Pine phone, save me.
Well, Jeff Bezos is also not going to offer you a phone that protects your privacy. If he ever offers you a phone, it will have Alexa in it. And I bet Alexa will also be pre-installed on this.
Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin wants to build a space tourism station nearly as big as the ISS. Brought to you by Carl's Jr.
Alexa's on the space station. I'm sorry, I can't do that.
Yep. That's terrifying. And that probably is what's going to happen. Now, remember that China is also planning a private space station. No, that's state-run space station. But we do have another private space station from another billionaire. That is, they're more in concert with NASA, I think. NASA wants to do the, non-denominational hub that you can attach your corporate pods to.
Like a space station in Empyrean. And it's all the aliens hanging out, and you can do commerce there.
I hope the trading system works better than it did in Imperium.
Yeah, Imperium. We should revisit that sometime. I wonder if it's better than it used to be.
It's been about a year since we played it. And, like I said, Alexa is going to be on the space station. You wait and see. Probably Alexa will be in every surface in the space station, just inherently.
Just listening all the time.
Here on Earth, you can avoid it to some extent, but maybe not at every stage of your life.
Amazon has brought Alexa to hospitals and senior living centers.
Yikes.
Do you think old people would kind of do that reflexive? Would they understand that?
Oh,
or would they enjoy it, you think?
I got my parents a Fire TV, and them trying to navigate things on their own with the buttons, never going to happen. Not at this stage. But they can talk to Alexa, and they can actually do things.
Huh.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I'm imagining my Oma. My Oma's almost 90, and I can't imagine her talking to a machine like that, but she might.
Well, they point out that it's tougher and tougher in the modern world for seniors in these centers to deal with phones.
Yeah.
Smartphones, right? So Alexa, one of the most popular things they were doing here was like, hey, Alexa, call my daughter. And Alexa just does it. And the daughter's like, Mom, you have to stop doing this.
My Oma, I don't ever check Facebook that often, but she'll call me on there exclusively. And I'm like,
she doesn't understand.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't use the Facebook Messenger stuff. But she's like, oh no, I'll video call you on that. I'm like, just call me on the regular phone.
Yeah. So if she ever goes to assisted living, expect that to increase.
Yeah.
And Alexa is the big winner. The number one assistant. Number one in customer satisfaction? No. Number one in efficiency?
No.
Not even close.
Alexa's going to collect more information about you than any other smart assistant. They compared Google Assistant, Apple's Siri, Samsung's Bixby, and Microsoft Cortana. Only Bixby collected as much information, which is literally everything.
I hate Bixby.
Well, that's data collected about you. What about a bigger list of data collected about you?
Oh, no. Look at that. It still collects just about everything.
What about your contacts?
Oh, yes. We need to know who all that is as well.
Yeah.
There's no winners on this chart, huh?
How about your files and activity? It just keeps going. Yeah, so Alexa is horrible. And she watches. She doesn't forget. Krista, you alluded to this earlier, the autocorrect. Now, I remember seeing a meme post a long, long time ago where it's all misspelled words, but you don't notice till you get to the end and it tells you that it's all misspelled words because it's crafted in a way that it knows your brain is going to correct it perfectly. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's exactly what they figured out here. But how do you study that? How do you figure it out?
Your brain uses autocorrect to decipher language, and an AI just helped us prove it, a new study says. So they were looking at how, in order to decipher meaning, an AI was going to kind of predict the next word. And so they looked for clues of human beings sort of preemptively predicting the next word as they read them, and they found that the clues were there. So that's a pretty interesting parallel that wasn't explicitly designed in the system for how human brains read and process language the way that these language recognition AIs are reading and processing language.
That is exactly how those AIs do it. GPT and natural language processing, stuff like that, they always look for other words for contextual clues. And it totally changes. If you tell it, hey, look at 2 words for context versus look at 4 words for context, completely changes what it thinks it is.
Yeah.
Very impressive. What do you think? Sping? Xping?
Ooh.
I don't know.
Xpeng?
So that sounds a little bit like Jinping, which people say we're saying wrong. That should be Shimping or something like that.
Shin.
I don't know. Anyway, flying cars.
Chinese EV maker Xpeng touts flying car. They can operate on roads. Plans for 2024 rollout.
That's like Latinx. You have to pronounce the X. Latinx. There it is. That's not a real thing. That's a mock-up.
I feel like you can't roll it out that quickly because you're also going to have to develop traffic laws to deal with the new dimension that your cars can now go in.
Well, I think the cost will probably control that at first.
Right.
Not very many people have these. So the way it works is those arms are movable, and I think the propellers can also fold back on themselves. And so that all gets tucked back into the car until you need it.
That train wouldn't have stopped me earlier if I had that.
I could just fly over the train.
I don't think you'd have enough room to unfurl that on most city streets. Was there any traffic in the other lane?
Yeah, there was. I just and then fly away. See ya, sucker.
I would say that has to be probably like a really low weight material in the entire car. So those things would probably just smash up completely.
Also seems like if you had a motor failure, it would be fatal.
They did say that the car came with parachutes. I didn't know if that, I got the impression maybe the car itself has a parachute system, or maybe it's just the people. I don't know.
Oh, like GTA when you have the parachutes on the cars.
That would still cause quite a bit of damage.
Yeah.
If a car parachuted into your house.
Yeah.
Teal or Thiel?
I think it's Teal.
Teal?
Oh, I thought it was Thiel. I don't actually know.
Peter Thiel said maybe the most tone-deaf, ironic thing that's ever been uttered in American media.
Peter Thiel thinks people should be concerned about surveillance AI. I think the article writer knew a little bit about that because he said Palantir's. Peter Thiel. Palantir is, of course, the AI surveillance company.
Also, he's an investor in Clearview.
Is there,
of course he is.
Is there a competitor that he's worried about that he's trying to get ahead of, you think?
Well, he's talking about artificial general intelligence, which we're not even, I mean, we're so far away from that.
Yeah.
Why is he even talking about that? I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to focus the attention on something that isn't even a real thing yet.
We don't need to be worried about the Chinese AI that can figure out who you are based on the way that you walk. What we need to worry about is the childlike wonder artificial intelligence as seen in 2006's hit movie Artificial Intelligence.
Although he is actually, I got that wrong. He's saying the reverse, actually. He's saying that we shouldn't worry about general intelligence. We should only worry about surveillance. So that makes me wonder, is he about to launch a general intelligence company?
Probably not. Maybe. Probably not.
But yeah, I mean, he could go along, if he's worried about this, he could go a long way in slowing it down by destroying those companies.
That would cost him money.
What a monster. I don't recognize any of these names or places. I'm sorry.
I didn't know.
I'm sorry to the Indian viewers. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I do understand
engagement challenge
that this is amazing use of artificial intelligence created video like a deep fake, but not for porn.
Diwali celebration. Cadbury's initiative with Shah Rukh Khan goes viral and the Twitterati react.
What a terrible headline.
Yeah.
So there he is, and you can actually, if you're a local place, you can have your own commercial starring this man who is a massive, massive celebrity. But he won't actually be in your commercial.
Yay for AI tools.
I hope he's getting paid well for that.
He's a major Bollywood star, so I think he's already getting paid quite a bit, yeah.
It's kind of like they did Subservient Chicken, but it's actually kind of like a nice thing.
Well, they are selling sugar, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, probably not great for the Indian people. There's a lot of uncanny valley here, don't you think?
This is Lal from Star Trek.
Oh, yeah. It does look a lot like her, doesn't it? Well, that's probably, they had to use that as the,
you would think,
the starting point. Yeah. Except that was a real woman.
Yeah, it was a real actress. Yeah.
How does she feel right now? Is she alive?
I'm sure she is.
Ida? Is that how you pronounce that? Ada?
Yeah, I don't know.
Ida. Anyway, this is Ida. She's a robot, and she's an artist robot. But even when you're an artist robot, socio-political conflict enters into your career.
Egypt detains artist robot Ida before historic pyramid show. They got her back literally right before the show went on. Customs had a problem. She contained cellular radio modems, and they thought the artist could communicate with heads of state, or she was some kind of a robotic spy or something. They also didn't like how high resolution her cameras were in her eyes.
These are the same people that blocked the statue of David because of the pee-pee. It's they got some great shots of her and her robotic arms. Unfortunately, we're paywalled.
Yeah.
I would recommend you go check this out because her robotic arms make it even more surreal.
Yeah.
Because they're not at all human-like.
Yeah.
They're like these big, monstrous pinchers.
She's like the Edward Scissorhands
Of art making.
And she does abstract art. It's not even technically impressive to me. I don't know. Maybe Krista would have a different idea about it.
That was one of the gags in Futurama. Is like Bender is like, I'm going to be a painter or something, and when he goes to paint, it comes out like an inkjet printer. It's just, I thought it was funny.
It was funny. I mean, it wasn't laugh out loud. Krista, I know that you are especially angry about the fact that large corporations are vacuuming up houses.
Yeah, that makes me mad because I have a lot of friends who are looking right now.
And this story has to make you feel pretty good because it turns out that AI might not be the expert property flippers that we thought they were.
Zillow's zeal to outbid for homes backfires in flipping fumble. Whoever edited this article and made that headline, just A+. Good job.
So we all knew that Zillow was buying up houses, but how were they choosing those houses? Well, there was an algorithm.
The algorithm got it wrong.
Yeah, this estimate, literally the the personification of this estimate. Well, it turns out now in October, as the housing market is cooling down, they're probably, because of the backlog of how many they bought, unless the market turns around pretty soon, and because of the labor shortage, they can't get anybody to do the work to flip the house.
The cost estimates for what it would take to repair the houses to flip them are way low.
But they can't just hold on to them, right? So they're looking to lose, on average, around 6% on every one of these houses, unless the market turns around.
Sounds like free money to me.
But I mean, this is pretty normal for the real estate market. It always goes a little cold during these months because no one wants to move during the holidays.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple properties around here for sale where somebody has obviously bought something to flip it, and they're like, I'm going to sell this for this much. And it's like, no.
No, you're not.
No.
Unless that inflation kicks in again.
Well, we'll know in like 6 months. Although, did you see they came out with one of the indicators? You know how they have got the core consumer price index and then like the everything
nonsense.
Inflated price index? Well, one of the things they actually use in core moved like double what they estimated. Like the one that's supposed to be like the one that's nonsense on purpose. One of the key indicators moved twice as much as they would expect, which means that it's actually just utterly bananas.
Oh, it's just the supply chain. Saki will explain that to you. That's just, we're so prosperous.
Don't worry about buying food.
It's Friday. Was anybody able to buy Alder Lake? Were there massive supply chain issues?
Are a lot of people lining up for that?
I don't know.
That'll be in the future.
Well, Kim Jong-un is a polarizing figure, and he gets a lot of flack, but we do pay a lot of attention to him, especially our alphabet services, because if he says the wrong word, could be World War III, which is why his health and appearance are under great scrutiny.
Slimmer Kim Jong-un is not a body double, a spy agency says, after an AI analysis of image. They borrowed the Chinese walking analysis software, and it definitely said that's really him. He just lost a bunch of weight.
He has lost a lot of weight. He's much thinner.
Look how big his pants are. Did he not get new pants?
Maybe he thinks that's the style. They kind of did the oversized suit thing.
The article doesn't mention it, but he also put out a proclamation yesterday, which was, please eat less.
Yeah, I think till 2024. Was it 2024?
2025.
Do you think, because, they've known this was coming for a while.
Yeah.
Do you think somebody was like, listen, we're going to have to tell people to stop eating, and that is going to be a lot easier to swallow if you're not massively fat. Do you think maybe drop a couple?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Seems like he could, trade some nuclear weapons for a lot of food.
Well, they used to do that.
Yeah.
They used to trade us a guarantee that they weren't going to attack us for food. But I think a lot of him maintaining his power at home has to do with him rattling that saber. So he's in a tough spot right there.
My understanding, too, is that North Korea is fairly mountainous, so it's not good farmland. So, that's another thing. They can't produce it themselves easily.
Yeah, terrible place. Terrible place to be for a lot of reasons. Cold, rocky, pretty terrible. Have you guys watched Dune yet?
Nope. I keep meaning to.
Me too. I kind of feel like a resistance to it, and I don't know why.
I was reading the forum because I don't care about spoilers. Go to forum.level1text.
I don't want any spoilers.
Well, I'm not going to give a spoiler, but it seems a little polarizing. It's like 50-50 opinion.
It ends on a cliffhanger, and I'll just wait for the next.
Turns out there's only going to be one more, though, right?
Well, I don't know.
I thought there were going to be 3. They've only said there's going to be one more because they only greenlit one more.
Oh, that's
true.
true.
To finish it. How did it make any money?
I think it made pretty good money. That's why it got greenlit, the second one.
Well, anyway, the guy that wrote it years ago, because obviously things have been weird and he wasn't able to make the movie in time. And we learn a specific conceit that he has. It's very interesting.
The Dune screenplay was written in MS-DOS. This Oscar-winning screenwriter of Dune wrote an MS-DOS program that can only hold 40 pages in memory.
Did those old programs, did they even have shift highlighting and stuff?
No,
Most of them did.
WordPerfect did, but WordPerfect was the odd duck.
That doesn't look like WordPerfect to me.
No.
That's a stupid thing to do.
It doesn't even look like 80 by 25 text, though. That looks higher resolution than 80 by 25.
What if he's emulating it just to do that?
No, he said it was Windows XP.
I wonder, too, how does that translate to a printed page? Because there's like some sort of rule with screenwriting where like one page equals a certain amount of screen time. I wonder if that was part of the reason it was like, oh, this was a lot more screen time than we initially thought.
Nah, that's just word count.
He said that the 40-page limitation helps him be succinct, though, which is good.
How about that keyboard?
It's a Model M.
Do you
He's
think that's the
rocking the
original
classic
one?
desktop.
Is he nerding out getting the Model M, or did you just have it from the old times?
I don't know. He might just like the way that it types without realizing that, that's the Cadillac of keyboards.
That's stupid.
Cadillac's not the Cadillac of Cadillacs anymore either.
And finally, oh no, this is not the last story, is it?
Oh, there's a bunch more. I also thought it was the
Lord.
last.
A lot more. Memes. We learned that memes are powerful. Not only can they change the world around you and, modify a presidential election, perhaps, but they can help us get through the toughest of times.
Memes about the thing that we've endured for the last couple of years helped us cope with life in the thing that we've endured for the last couple of years. A new study has found, and it's like, oh, they've got Bernie. That is kind of an iconic photo. I wonder if they would have memed the National Geographic cover with the Afghani girl that had the piercing blue eyes or whatever that was.
What's the meme?
I don't know. I mean, but like that was like a striking photo. It seems like every striking photo gets memed today.
I don't think that one was memed at the time.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
This was more about, feeling miserable. So what they did is they took people, they broke it down. It was a random sample, and mostly uneducated, 60% uneducated. They showed them various pictures, and then they measured things. And when they showed them things related to the pandemic, they actually felt a little bit better. Because they realized that everybody's experiencing it the same as them. It's like, oh, I had that thought.
Makes us relate.
Skyrim IRL, I don't know if that is the name of this person or because he looks kind of like the Skyrim guy in the beginning.
I know who this is. I don't have TikTok, but I've seen his skits on YouTube, and he basically he's really good at mimicking the weird, unnatural movements of the Skyrim NPCs, and then they have him do like black.
Oh, was he the guy that got
contacts.
stuck on a table?
Yeah, and he's like, it's fancy seeing you here. Need something? And like, he's really good at doing the walk. This is kind of a terrifying story to read about him.
Well, he was really good at those things. I don't think he'll be doing them anymore.
He's been arrested for the murder of his wife, and could face the death penalty.
Ugh.
No! First it was Hans Reiser, and now it's this guy. Oh, no.
I mean, I don't know anything about this guy. He made some funny videos, but you just don't expect to hear that about someone you've seen somewhere.
Well, I can tell you one fact about him. He's a murderer.
Yeah.
He's an alleged murderer, but the evidence is pretty compelling.
So, won't be seeing him anymore. Treasure those Skyrim IRL videos. They're done for. And this is a terrifying expose on how little people understand about their children or interact with them or even just take basic care in feeding. It's ridiculous, but it also shows you that you can learn to do almost anything. Like this big wave of people quitting their jobs and doing something else. You can teach yourself anything with YouTube.
17-year-old Kerala girl delivers baby with help from YouTube videos. So, removing the placenta and cutting the umbilical cord and all this
looks
kind
like
of
the
stuff.
baby's breech. You want to reach in there and scoot him around.
It was it's kind of a dark and depressing story though, because she had this baby, and it's from a guy that was older. He was like 21, and so the police have arrested somebody, and she was trying to keep the baby secret from her family, and but she got an infection. That's why she had to go to the hospital. That's why they found out the baby's fine. The mom's gonna be fine. Just kind of dark.
But think about this. For the entire pregnancy, she hid in her room.
Yeah.
Her father had a weird work schedule, and her mother was, I guess, just tuned out. And she was like, oh, I'm just in my room on my phone. For 9 months?
Yeah.
Then she had the baby alone in her room and kept that quiet. You think she was just like biting on a stick or something?
Yeah.
And then, for a couple of days, it was just her and the baby in the room.
Yeah.
Where was the baby pooping?
She was probably just managing it
Yeah,
somehow.
maybe she had like cloth diapers. I don't know.
Where'd she get diapers? Because nobody knew she was pregnant.
Yeah,
We
maybe
might
she
have
had
made
her own
them.
money. Yeah. Yeah, you could make them yourself. But you still, here's the thing, like with cloth diapers, you still have to empty them out in a toilet and then rinse them.
Right, yeah.
So like surely someone would have noticed after.
Well,
a
she
certain
might have had
amount
a
of time.
bathroom in her bedroom. But still, that's crazy. That's crazy that she was caring for a child and no one knew.
I feel like without YouTube, she probably would have died because she wouldn't have had any idea what to do, which is even darker.
I mean, the animals figure it out, right?
Yeah, but we're not very good at.
I mean,
We haven't been good at that stuff for thousands of years.
She probably would have been fine, assuming there was no complications. But like, I feel like once the baby's out, then you of course have the problem of like clipping the umbilical cord. And it's like, where do I clip on this? Where does this make sense?
Well, that's
to
what
clip?
YouTube did.
Yeah, that's what. So like, that's where you'd need some other guidance. And of course, once she got the infection, that was a problem as well. I wonder if she used like dirty scissors or something, and maybe that's where she got it.
Could be, yeah. Well, there's probably a lot of like tearing that goes on, right?
It can, yeah.
And it wasn't disinfected.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
It do be that way.
Well, Krista, you are planning a hike, right?
Yeah, this weekend. 16 miles.
You don't plan to get hopelessly lost, but if you do, I hope that you'll be more proactive than this guy. Although at the same time, it seems like this guy was fine the entire time. Am I understanding that correctly?
He was just slightly late.
So, but he didn't need help.
Well, he was like 12 hours late.
Yeah, he did not need help.
Ultimately, no.
This was an overreaching government system.
It might have been a family member who was scared.
Missing hiker ignored calls from rescuers because it was an unknown number. So for this hike, you have to submit an itinerary. And he did submit an itinerary. And he didn't report in. And then he got lost. And then he walked all night and ended up back on the trail by morning, but he went to the wrong trailhead where he parked his car. And then so he went somewhere else. And the rescuers kept calling him, and he did not answer because it was an unknown number. Because that is how badly regulators have failed.
I'm assuming then, so usually what you do when you go on any sort of hike, especially if you're going to be overnight, I don't know if he was overnight or not, but like, usually you leave your general location where you parked and everything with a family member, and then if you're not back by a certain time, they're usually the one, they'll try to call you, and then if they can't get hold of you, they call rescue services. Why didn't his family try to call him again? And why didn't the rescue services call the family and be like, hey, he's not picking up for us, can you guys try?
I don't know that the family was involved. I think with this place, because like Wendell said, you submit paperwork at the beginning, it automatically kicks off if you don't come back.
Yeah, the one park here that's like the tourist trap kind of park, but that has some short hiking trails, the park actually closes. And so like when you go in, if you go the long way, which is like a 2-hour walk, you're actually just supposed to be like, what's your first name? And blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you leave, it's like, what's
now.
your name? And then they just cross you off the list. And so it's like we're closing the park, and it's like, well, this guy never reported back. And it's just like...
They have to go find them, yeah. Usually the place, if it's the same place, they also make you put down like the make of your car so they can go to the parking lot and like verify if you're still there.
Yeah.
How much money are we wasting on that nonsense every year?
Well,
search and rescue.
We should turn all that off.
The Rangers here, they only make about $16K a year.
Yeah,
so
they don't
it's
make
not
a lot.
Yeah, but how many of those do we need the Rangers to keep
a lot
the
of them
park safe?
A lot of them too, like at least for the search and rescue in this area, like a few counties over, a lot of them are volunteer.
Yeah.
So like they're not making anything.
But here, obviously, a lot of money was spent unnecessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. People should just be on their own if they're going to go into the woods. I mean, come on. That makes it more exciting, right?
It definitely makes the Bears more excited.
I just don't understand like why the family didn't try to call him again.
Because they hate him.
I guess.
And he had service the whole time, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I mean, they didn't hate him enough to just leave him be. They called a rescue team, but they didn't try to contact him again after that.
Maybe the night before, like he had planned out his trail and he had a little map, and his wife went in the night before and erased part of it and like redrew it just to screw him up.
That's attempted murder.
Well, Pop-Tarts, I concur that plain Pop-Tart better than frosted Pop-Tart.
That's questionable.
No, I agree with that because it's too the frosting is just too.
It's overwhelming. And you want to taste what the actual flavor of the fruit is, right? Which, at the best of times, is maybe somewhat close.
Yeah. Pop-Tart whole grain. This woman is suing Kellogg's for $5 million over frosted strawberry Pop-Tarts because she says the strawberry filling is not really strawberry enough.
Or if there is strawberry in there, it doesn't taste like a strawberry to her.
Oh, and it's missing strawberry nutrients and that kind of thing.
Yeah, because at that point, there's not much left of the original strawberry.
Yeah.
Maybe like a seed.
It's too artificial.
Has this woman ever processed a strawberry before? Like, they kind of naturally lose their flavor depending on if you cook them or not. If those are cooked even a little bit, even if they were not filled with other preservatives, like, they would be different.
She says that might be true, but don't put strawberry flavor on the packaging if it doesn't taste like strawberries.
What does she want them to put?
She wants millions of dollars is what she wants.
Yeah.
It's going to get thrown out, but it's hilarious. And this one is just astonishing. I guess if you're going to do it, billionaires are the people that should do it, right?
Yeah.
Those cameras on the wall back there make me think she might be doing some kind of online thing.
It's like Kitten Academy.
Baby Academy.
Russian woman, 24, welcomed 21 surrogate babies in just over a year.
It's easy to have 24 babies when you don't have to actually have the babies.
But, well, I mean, she probably has a team of nannies, too. Like,
Yes.
I wouldn't... Like, I like kids, but 24 little ones all at once, that would just be a level of exhaustion I can't even imagine.
4,000 euro a week just for the materials, not the people.
Just like diapers and food and
Right.
bottles and, yeah.
Krista, she says that she has a goal that is higher than 24. Can you guess the number that she wants to terminate at?
30.
105.
So,
Krista's freaking out.
I don't think she could remember that many names.
no. Well, like, what? Is she trying to own, like an orphanage, or is she just wants that many kids?
I think, the guy's a billionaire, and I guess she's bored.
I mean, there's worse ways to spend your money, I guess, instead of, like, just spending it on rent. Wait, are these surrogate children? Like,
They are paying women to take his sperm and have her children.
Okay,
They
that's
probably
way
put the
worse.
egg in too, right? That's how that works?
I think so.
Oh,
They
yeah.
implant the egg. So it's her babies, but she's not carrying any of them.
Yeah,
That's actually way worse. I was thinking more of, like, if it was an adoption kind of thing, that might not be the worst thing in the world.
I don't
Probably a
know.
pretty good way to spend your money.
I
But
thought maybe in one pic they looked a little multicultural, but maybe not.
This is a really interesting way to be the next Genghis Khan.
Yeah, now that I'm looking at them, I guess maybe those could all be her eggs.
that's crazy. Why not just... There's so many kids who need homes, and you have the resources to care for them. And you're breeding your designer kids instead? I could see doing that for one or two, but, like, you want 100 kids, why not adopt some?
Those are going to be some confused kids.
Yeah.
This
They're going to
thing-
think their nannies are their parents.
This might be a great way to take over a country. It's like, we're going to keep it in the family, and then they just,
But isn't the problem with, like, those kind of big dynasties is that all the kids start fighting amongst themselves for status?
oh, yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I mean, even split 105 ways, $1 billion is still a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I can realize I can't talk about any of it. We've learned some interesting bat facts lately, or not bat facts, things that we were told couldn't possibly be true, and yet now have been admitted. And so the bat, once so vilified, is perhaps not responsible for our current situation, and the people of New Zealand maybe they're doing this to make up for it.
It's winning by quite a lot in a New Zealand Bird of the Year contest. I don't think bats are birds.
They are in fact not.
But they are cute. I just don't want them in my house.
They're cute when they don't have highly contagious.
Diseases, yeah.
Yeah.
Rabies scares the hell out of me because I hate being thirsty. That's how it kills you.
That you just go into a rage and your nervous system shuts down. And there's no way to counteract it once you reach a certain point. Not scary at all.
So it seems like the powers that be in New Zealand are not a big fan of the bat being the winner. They have tried to push the... How do you pronounce that?
The old Bodie McBoatface problem.
That's... either of you care to take a shot at
I can't even see that.
Kakapow.
Kakapo or Kakapo?
I don't know.
All those accent marks, man. That's going to screw up a database. But it seems like the people in New Zealand, leaders, are like, hey, this is a cool bird and it's all ours. We should. And the people are like, no, it's bat. It must be bat. I always love to include anything that has to do with the Wu-Tang Clan. And I'm excited that not only was this a possibility, but it's not a fighting game. It's going to be a RPG, which I hope is turn-based, although I guess action RPG would not be turn-based, would it? Less excited now.
Project Shaolin. Xbox may be working on a Wu-Tang themed action RPG led by Brass Lion Entertainment.
Which Wu-Tang member would you choose to play in this game?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not super familiar with the Wu-Tang.
It's Ghostface Killer.
Oh,
That's the answer.
the correct answer, the
Yes.
only answer.
I saw a Wi-Fi network once named Wu-Tang Land.
And because
pretty
it was
solid.
a pun, you stored it
I did.
with all the other puns in the music storage.
Yeah, there's not much. The music storage has largely been overwritten. I remember bits and pieces, but I don't make an effort to remember anything there anymore.
Well, we see a lot of stories about police misconduct, and more, that police misconduct is breaking over into the online world.
It's amazing.
They don't know how to behave, especially when they're criticized.
Victorian anti-corruption watchdog reveals full extent of former police officers' offensive trolling. So they were looking for evidence of like serious corruption, and they uncovered a particular police officer who had no less than a half a dozen different online identities.
70.
70.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. 70 posts.
Oh, yeah. No, he had a whole suite of online identities that he would post various racist, homophobic slurs, complain about politicians. Very busy individual.
All in response to any criticism of the police. And the Victorian police have faced a lot of criticism lately because there are some laws in that country that are very unpopular.
Victoria, British Columbia.
I thought this was Australia.
I don't know.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Well, all the other stories are about Australia. Maybe the Victoria province.
I can't imagine that a Canadian would do this, right?
It's got to be.
There's people like this everywhere.
It's got to be Australia.
Look at any local news site. If they have comments, and
Oh,
there's always someone like this.
AU.au.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely Australia. So it's the lockdown laws, and people have been very vocal about those. And this guy felt like the best way to respond to that was with racism and homophobia.
As one does.
Just a race to the bottom, all the way around.
Basically a Call of Duty lobby. That's how he operated his police work.
This is the most amazing funeral outfit.
It is, and as much as attractive as this girl is, and as much as I like pictures of attractive girls, I do think she maybe went a little too far.
It's a little sad.
A little too far.
It depends on her dad. If her dad was like Robin Williams and I think Robin Williams as a father would be okay with this, but I don't know who her father was.
I would say most likely not. But
Let's see the full dress.
can't say for sure.
Influencer criticized for photo shoot at her dad's funeral. That's not the picture. Keep going.
Yeah, there's a lot of pictures.
There's a lot. Yeah.
A lot of pictures.
There you go.
This is, this shows the dress off the
Is
best.
that appropriate funeral attire? I question that. But it also looks like they're having the funeral at like
It's probably like a church or
elementary
something.
school?
like
Yeah.
a 49th Legion Lodge or something.
Well, this is in the UK. They're different. So, there is, but she also did some posing.
Oh, they can't see that. They're looking at us right now.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready for the reveal.
Yeah, the open casket posing.
Nice.
I don't know.
I mean, it's weird. I think what makes it maybe over the line is that she's doing it right in front of her father's casket.
But it's blocking him out.
Yeah, that's what's weird.
Well, maybe that. I mean, I don't know. So
I don't think her fashion choice is really relevant so much as like posing in front of your dad's dead body. Kind of weird.
if she grew up like dirt poor and with nothing, and her family had nothing, and it was like, okay, at the funeral you can do something controversial and get a lot of traffic and make a lot of money, then the family would be like, yeah, that sounds great, do it.
But
She
she's
has now
already
deleted her account.
She's already that, right? She was already an influencer.
Yeah, I don't know, but she deleted her account, so.
Yeah, I don't know if she was a huge influencer, but
At least she's capable of shame. At least we've learned that.
See, I don't know if she should have been ashamed, though. I mean, I don't know.
It is.
I don't think her dress was bad. I think the posing in front of the casket's a little tacky.
Yeah, but
It raises important questions about how we deal with death.
yeah,
Because how we deal with death is not necessarily healthy.
that's true.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You could argue that like the affirmation of life is the response to death. But I feel like what was happening here was she was trying to capitalize on a death.
Well, but see, like,
it doesn't feel like a tribute to her dad so much as like just a way to show off herself and her outfit. Does that make sense?
I think that maybe, but also it could be like, if it was a situation where it's like, look, you could make a bunch of money live streaming the funeral, do it, because you might not have another opportunity, and that would be really beneficial for you, and that would be something,
You think that was his final wish?
I mean, it depends on what kind of person he was.
I could see that, but you're still going to face even if they ask you to do it, you're still going to face an incredible backlash from society.
Yeah, maybe, possibly, yeah. Yeah.
Also, the cleavage.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I understand what Chris is saying. Like, we shouldn't be slut shaming anybody. And if you want to, if you want to dress like that, I don't know why I would ever argue against it, right? Pretty girl, why not dress like that? But at a funeral, there is something visceral that is triggered in me when I see that.
what if she was just, sheltered and innocent and had no idea, and like her handlers were like, you should do this, and she's like, okay.
Right. The second day of being an Instagram influencer, you lose that.
That's probably true.
How many unsolicited penises does it take?
Probably a lot.
Yeah.
If she had just taken this anywhere else, I think in the building, it wouldn't be a story on a news site somewhere.
The building that appears to be a community center or a school.
Yeah, like if she'd just taken it like against the wall or something, but just in front of the casket is kind of weird.
Drop ceilings.
What if this was her coping mechanism?
I guess we can't judge her, and yet we have.
Is that a healthy coping mechanism? I need likes and validation from people. Like, favorite, and subscribe.
I've not experienced the death of one of my parents yet, but you can sort of imagine it, and I can't imagine any scenario where I need to expose a shoulder and post to Instagram.
Honestly, I feel like I'd want to just like go dark on social media. Not that any of us post that much.
I don't even want to go to a funeral.
Yeah.
I mean, my way of dealing with that would be way better to do it alone. I don't need to be around any of those people because I don't like them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
certainly not my strategy.
Tell us how you deal with death below. Anything else?
That's the last
That's
one.
it? All right. Bye.